We are live. This is The Grind. Every month we gather together 4 entrepreneurs plus an engineer. So that makes 5 entrepreneurs in a room to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to shoot the shit for the next hour or maybe 2 hours. So let's see how it goes. We've got questions. If you have questions, if you're watching on YouTube, then there is a thing on the right-hand side which is a chat box. Put your questions in there. We'll do our best to field the questions live. This is live. Anything can happen. So this is how we roll on The Grind. So the point of The Grind is really to expose entrepreneurship for what it is. It's not necessarily glamorous. It's hard. It's tough. We're gonna show people what it's really like by putting real entrepreneurs in a room, asking real questions. None of the pussy questions that you get asked at conferences. This is real. These are the questions people want to hear. My name is Graham Brown, joined in the studio by... On my right-hand side, introduce yourself, sir.
I'm Aaron. I've been here for a few times now.
You have. You're back. So, I mean, it's vindication of the fact that this is a good show, the fact you keep coming back.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was free beers.
Apart from that, you keep coming back. First time on The Grind.
Yeah, it's Troy. And you have probably seen me around.
Yep.
Yep.
A little bit of background to yourself, Troy.
Okay, so for those who didn't know, so I was in Vietnam for 6 months doing a startup accelerator back there, and then I came back doing my final year of school, and I was juggling between studies and another accelerator.
Yeah.
Moody, and then here I am.
Yeah, and just by the way, I put it out there that Troy is actually old enough to be here. So I know he looks quite young and he's mentioned school, but you are 20, right?
Yeah,
so,
I'm 20.
Yeah, and you are obviously, I mean, it's interesting as well because one of the things we're going to talk about is entrepreneurship and education and like preparing yourself to be an entrepreneur. So you've got some opinions about that as well. So being a young lad starting out on the journey of life, be interesting to get your perspective as well because, you know, one of the challenges here on The Grind is, you know, there's an overwhelming presence of old guys. So hopefully you're a bit of a balance tonight. So welcome.
Good
Erik,
to be here.
all the way from... So here's the thing. Let's put this into context. So Erik, long-time fan of The Grind, asking questions and, you know, joining in the chat, the Q&A chat on YouTube. And we thought we would reward him with a place on the show tonight. So welcome.
Thank you.
All the way from Jakarta.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Yeah, Graham and I go long back, actually. The interesting story is I think I met Graham... We can't work out exactly how many years ago it is, but close to 10 probably.
Yeah, it's definitely this millennia.
Where we met in Jakarta, we really clicked. And then from that time onward, we reconnected and actually started, you know, a couple of projects together without ever having met over the last 8 or 9 years in person.
Yeah.
So Graham and I wrote a book, The Lazy Money Machine, about how we want to be lazy in life and make money from property. That's really where we connected. That's also what I do for the most part. I have a property portfolio in the UK and I do property business in Indonesia. But since I have time left, I'm always on the look for, you know, projects to do and new things to do. And the latest thing I try to dig my teeth in is a project to build a training business for millennials to teach them life skills. And that's very early days, but that's, you know, very exciting. And I think I'm going to be able to get that off the ground. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Great.
Yeah.
But fundamentally an investor.
Yeah, fundamentally an investor.
Property.
But very interested in the activity of creating value in terms of business. I think that's really where my interest is. You know, how can we build new stuff and interesting stuff and things that are nicely branded and have a good ring to it.
Yeah, good.
So
well, the thing I like about you as well and why I sort of happy that you're here tonight is that you whenever we have these conversations is that you don't take any bullshit from me. And
right.
It's easy because I'm surrounded by, you know, people who I work with all the time. But, you know, like it's good to have somebody who, you know, calls me out. So hopefully tonight you can do a bit more of that.
Yeah.
Live.
I'm on the edge, man.
On the edge. We live on the edge.
Let's get ready.
We live on the edge. This is the life of the entrepreneur. And big shout out as well. I know you're not on the camera, but Bharat. There you go. He's nodding his head. He's over there. I'm just pointing. He's kind of... Are you going to turn the camera around? There you go. Look. Get him on. Yeah, he's just like slaving away in the studio, making all of this happen. He's the unsung hero of Asia Tech Podcast, I believe, right? So there you go. And people that turn up at the studio, they do recognise you. He's the guy that sits in the corner. You do have a voice as well. I mean, he's not just sort of like nodding his head and stuff like that. You can't hear him. There you go. So this is the crew for the next 1 or 2 hours, and we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship. And the way we do this is just so we can establish the format is we have questions which have been submitted by the viewers, the audience, and we will also take questions if you are on YouTube. So if you go to atp.show/live, that will take you to our YouTube channel. Any questions and comments there, obviously within reason, and keep it clean. Any questions or comments in there, we will field during the live show. So feel free to ask away or comment. And we will start with the pussy questions. So we got 2 sections, the pussy and the tiger questions. The pussy questions are the starters, the easy ones, the sitters, to get you guys comfortable and warmed up and relax you into a full sense of security. And then we start with the tiger questions, which are the tough, hard-hitting questions, which is where, the audience tune in and get the real content, right? That's how it works here. So let's start with the pussy questions. And seeing as I came up with the idea of the grind, I'm going to ask the first one. So I'm going to ask this to everybody, the first one. Oh, this is actually should be in the tiger questions, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And it's an easy one because you only had to give me one word. This is the format. I ask a question. You answer the question. Whoever I think answered with the best question gets to ask the next one, right? And when you ask the question, just pick one person to answer it, okay? And if you're not satisfied with their answer, pick somebody else. Call them out. Call out the BS. So we're starting on a morbid note tonight, I'm afraid. Eulogy. And just by the way, a eulogy is what you write at somebody's funeral when somebody stands up and says about, summarizes your life in 3 minutes. I'm writing your eulogy, folks, tonight. Which word do you not want to hear in it? Erik, I'm going to ask you that one first. That's a pussy question. If that's the pussy question, I fear tonight for what the tiger questions are. Erik, what word do you not want to see in your eulogy? You don't have to justify your answer. You just have to say the word.
Fear.
I'm happy with that. Over to you, Troy. You can have a think about it, by the way, because you've got many years before we actually have to write a eulogy. Being the youngest one here. Do you want to come back to it?
I'll come back to it.
We'll ask you last. Aaron. It's a tough one.
I think it's the same as the tarot card. It would be the Fool.
The Fool?
Yeah.
You don't want to be called the Fool.
Yeah, you chase after something, that an ambition in life, your goal in life, and then you chase after it for so many years. And then when you pass away, and then people go like, "Yeah, he's on the fool's errand."
It didn't mean anything.
Yeah, it didn't mean anything.
Well, that is not a pussy question. That's a tough one to start with tonight, isn't it? The Fool. All right, okay, we'll give you that one. Troy, over to you, sir.
Probably loser. Yeah, because nobody wanna lose.
Who's actually going to say that in the eulogy? Troy. He was a loser.
Yeah, it's like piece of shit. What a loser.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, good. Well, I think just an easy one to start with. Well, I'm going to hand it to Erik. I think because yours was probably the most enigmatic answer. You didn't back it up. You didn't deliver a justification, so I'll give you that. Over to you. You're asking the next question.
Okay.
You have to choose who is going to answer the question.
All right, Aaron. From a business perspective, do you believe in the ideology, I scratch your back, you scratch mine?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I believe in that. That is the whole entire thing about business, right? It's a transaction between two parties or more. So it's just basically beneficial for either party, preferably, or one side or the other side, right? So that is ultimately, when you say both sides are actually on the winning end, on the gaining end, then yeah, it's pretty much I scratch your back, you scratch my back, right? Yeah.
And is it? I mean, that's the case of a deal being equal, right? So
Yes,
both
yes.
parties win. What about favors? What about I help you, but later on you help me?
Well, we in the perfect world, we actually say that, yeah, you know what, it's not fair. But in the realistically, it is how business is actually done, right? You have a lot of people that actually favors business partners or vendors that they actually have experience with. So in other words, it's just basically they have done a good job, a tit for tat, right? I will reward them with another job.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, it's pretty much you scratch my back, I scratch your back.
So then my last clarification on that one. If somebody comes to you for help in a business kind of situation, do you provide that help with the faith that in the future they will return the favor?
Yeah, this is a very difficult question.
Yeah,
Now it becomes
early in
really
the
difficult.
night.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good question, Eric. Very
Yeah.
good question.
So you know what? When you are doing a favor for somebody, you don't. You shouldn't expect something back in return. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. But then what happened is that you expect. However, you do expect that we actually have a better bond. So what happened is that, you know, from a business partner to a friend or close family friend, then all of a sudden the expectation is actually there. So it increases, you know, exponentially, unfortunately.
Yes.
So yeah. So you don't really expect it, but then you do actually hope for it.
Yes.
Yes.
It's the same, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, hope that doesn't mean that they will do it.
Right. Okay. Eric, it's over to you. If you're happy with the answer, you can award
Very
it.
happy with it.
Are you?
Yep.
Okay.
Over to you.
Aaron, over to you, man. Baz is in charge of the questions tonight, so he is delivering. And you can. It's the other side, I think, on that one. Yeah. So you can ask that to anybody on the table here tonight.
Okay. It actually has 3 words only. Does age matter? Okay, so well, Troy is the youngest over here, so obviously he's the odd one out today. So yeah, to you.
Personally, I feel age don't freaking matter. It's just a number, you know. And I mean, I can do so much more when people like just stop saying that, oh, you're too young for this. Oh, you're too young for that.
Who says that? And what do they? What? Too young to be an entrepreneur? Or?
Yeah, you're like, hey, you're like too young. Mainly like people who are already working, and then you got a idea some sort. You want to work things out, and you're asking for like advice or something like that, and they will just say, hey, you're too young, or oh my god, you're so young. That sort of comments. So I think that has to actually stop, because I mean, when I was in Vietnam, my boss' daughter, so she was in an international school, and the international school actually taught her how to use Excel. So what she did with that skill was that she went home, and then she calculates all her toys with Excel. So that was like a really, really cool stuff where, you know, in Singapore we don't actually teach that in school. But at that age of 6, they're actually learning that.
At 6, she was learning Excel.
Yeah. And people wouldn't say, hey, you're too young for that. You see? Because these are great skill. And why do we use that phrase on someone that's doing other stuff that's not really that, you know, great skill, that sort of thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So ultimately, age did not matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Aaron, your question. You happy with the answer, or do you want to get further explanation from the table? I mean, you're happy with the youngest one, obviously.
Well, I'm actually expecting more like experience, maybe learning, as well as, of course, like you said, you actually highlighted the education as well, which is actually obviously very realistic. Okay, right now what happened is you say that, you know, people look at you and then say that you're young. How about you bring up some examples, like what roadblocks, what walls have you actually tried to, or fences that you have to actually break in order to actually prove that you are capable, although you're young.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, but that's how we roll here.
So right now, I'm actually training my mind to not feel fear in terms of doing things. So I will usually do it like sort of without permission or without someone else's permission. So let's say if I need to get things done, I'll get things done. So I think there are some people who would actually say, "Hey, why are you doing this instead of that?" Because I probably have like more experience than you, that sort of thing. So sometimes with experience, it does not bring any sort of value. Some of the ways that we do the young people do are so much better. I think now the kids nowadays, they are more into the YOLO attitude, and they usually fear of missing out, and that's why many of the kids nowadays, they are learning coding. They are learning so much more than just in the academics, because back then university was the only way out, but right now it wasn't the case. It's how you bring yourself out there, how you work things out outside of your academics. So there are many times where people do incredible things, and like people just don't feel like, hey, this will not work out for a young kid.
I was hoping for more actually, because what happens. This is I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
but this is the one of the conversations that we actually bring up with especially with the government people and the representatives, especially when it comes down to like EDB Springs and those. So what happened is that they actually say that one of the topic they were actually saying is actually asking for permission. So what happened is that they say that in Singapore especially, what happened is that we always ask for permission. So the permission is actually to determine whether we will be successful, whether we will be approved for doing things.
But do you think that's I don't think it's a Singaporean thing per se. I think that's global.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean it is. But then of course we have to actually talk about Singapore, because these people are actually in charge of Singapore, right? They're actually interested in the situation.
I'd prefer to talk about global issues.
I'm sorry.
For obvious reasons, but I get what you're saying. That this is a challenge. Obviously, in Asia, it's stronger, isn't it? Because people kind of wait for permission, and it's an issue, isn't it? With like young people as well. It's like starting out on the road.
Yes,
is that you kind of been trained, isn't it? I mean, I was like that at school. I was trained in that way to seek permission.
Yeah, but it is not only happening for the young. It's actually happening for all ages actually. So it's inbuilt to us that we always ask for permission. So basically, we want to seek somebody that actually might be in a position that's actually superior to us. That we want to actually ask. Maybe a licensing issue, maybe like a new idea that's actually not available in the market right now. So we want to ask for permission. And we go like, you know what? If I were to do it there's no regulation on this, right? Is it okay if I do this? Will you regulate this in the future, and stuff like that? So seeking permission is always a very big question. Doesn't matter of age, but it is always more inbuilt when you're younger, of course.
Yeah. We'll be trained.
Yeah, we're trained. Yeah, and then of course since we are fresh, at that time when we just graduated, when we actually or we actually just finished school, like voluntarily or whatever, through decision. But when you are fresh out, then basically the first thing you always do is you are very unsure. So it's always about self-confidence. It's always about the planning. So you always ask, is it okay?
I like the Tim Ferriss's line is better to ask for forgiveness than to seek permission.
Yeah, but it's so difficult, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And how do you actually live like that? But if you could live like that, it'd be great.
Yeah, exactly.
The 4-hour work week, he went out. He didn't ask for somebody's permission to do that, but to go out and not worry and then seek forgiveness rather than the permission to start it in the first place would be great. I think it's the point about fear, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like that is the ultimate state we've got to try and get to. It's really hard, but to get there is the journey, which is life really as an entrepreneur, isn't it?
Yes. But I'm sorry, I believe that there's actually a lot more to actually elaborate. So I'm going to actually pass this question over to Erik. I think Erik, so now we have the
the youngest and the oldest in the room, right? No?
I don't know. Is he the oldest?
Well, let's find out.
I don't know. Born 71, so 40.
72.
Okay.
75.
So there you go. Answered the question.
It's the first time in my life I'm in a forum where I'm the oldest. Holy moly.
There you
That's
go.
bad, man.
I think it was a privilege, Eric.
I think, to be very honest, I think for building a business, I think age could be a handicap.
Right.
I think the younger you are when you start a business, the earlier on you make a lot of mistakes. The quicker you grow as an entrepreneur, and the faster you can, scale businesses quickly. Because I think when you start as an entrepreneur, things go very slow, and you make a lot of, it takes you a while to take the learnings and to make the mistakes. And I think the earlier on you start that, with the less to lose, the faster I think you
Yeah.
grow. Because, you don't become an entrepreneur from one day to the other. You might take the decision to quit your job and start a business. But to be an entrepreneur with the skills to build a company, to come up with a product, to start the marketing, there's a lot to learn. And you can't read it in textbooks.
Mm.
So you got to go and make mistakes and start learning quickly. And the earlier on you do, I think the faster you become a more...
Well, so does age matter in that context?
I do think it
Yeah,
does.
in what
because,
context?
because to be honest, it's unavoidable that if you're older, you get into a different life stage. I've got 3 children. I'm not going to go and risk everything anymore for the sake of pursuing the startup dream. As a matter of fact, I don't think I would really want to start the real challenging startup kind of businesses anymore. I want to start businesses, but I would start businesses where I can sort of see where it goes and where the money is and where I can make money. Not so much let's, really go out and build a dream kind of business. So I think that is suitable for when you're a bit earlier on. But I think it's mainly the learning. The faster you start, the faster you begin, the quicker you get to being used to things going wrong and learning and adjusting to that, I think. So I think age does matter. And unavoidable, if you're in a later life stage, your inherent limitations or your inherent, brakes are on. It's just, you can't avoid it.
So I'm going to ask this question to elaborate.
Yeah, sure.
So when let's say, for instance, if you're investing in an entrepreneur,
Yes.
do you prefer to actually invest in more experienced older person, or do you actually prefer to actually invest in a young, inexperienced but new idea?
Okay, so I have to make a disclaimer. I have never invested in somebody else's startup business. So I have never taken, on seed. I never put in seed money in really new kind of businesses. But I have built a property business in the UK with a partner who is a lot older than I am. John, sorry, you're older. And I like that because, these people I'm putting my money in a partnership whereby the guy that's going to go and help me build the business knows the business. So I personally like that. And if I would invest, I would invest in partnerships that I'm involved in myself, or something that I want to build myself, or something like that. So I think I'm not the kind of person that would invest in, real young, new startup kind of ideas, unless I'm involved in it myself. Yeah.
Of course.
But they're different though, aren't they? I mean, in the sense that I think, like as much as you pointed out that the older entrepreneur has a different mindset and he's later to the game. There's also something else in the sense that they've done 10, 20, 25 years in an industry, learnt what's broken, now come out of that and wants to fix it. So they're not sort of like building an app to change the world. They're trying to fix a problem which exists in a vertical industry. And 20 years, I mean, as an investor, you're not paying for that young person to learn, which you would have done like with a startup. It's a high risk, isn't it? Like with a 20-year-old, but with a 45-year-old, for example, that guy has already learned. So it de-risks in a way, and they're not going to go and just completely burn through the money because maybe they have some financial discipline at an older age. And so I think they sort of balance each other and, in that sense. We've got the wine opener going. Just wondering what that noise is in the background. So maybe explain. So
Hey, it works. It works.
Yeah, we got it going.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to use, I guess.
There we go. So anyway, you asked the question,
Yes.
Aaron.
Okay.
Are you happy with the answers tonight?
I'm happy with the answers. I'm gonna pass this over to Troy though. The question,
Oh.
yeah, because what happened is that let's do a round robin for me, for my side.
Yeah, you do. Very Asian. Allow him a shout. So we're gonna hand over the question. Shall I do that? Psst.
Troy, I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
There you go. That's how it works. You would call that in the Asian sense Guangxi, right?
Guanxi, yeah.
Guangxi, which literally translates as what?
Connections.
Connections.
Yeah,
there you go.
networking connections.
Is how the world works.
Yes. And, oh yeah, but there's actually a second part to that, That phrase, 关系, and then cannot pass through 3 branches.
Really?
不过三族.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
A friend of a friend is okay. A friend of a friend of a friend is still okay, but then once it go past that, that's too far.
For the you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yes, exactly.
Why not?
Huh?
Why is it bad?
Because you see, I know you, so you're my friend, right? That's
Yeah.
one branch right there. And then what happens? You know another guy, maybe it might be your cousin, your nephew, or whatever. And then basically that's the second branch. And then any more further than that is just too far.
Right.
And with that, the successful sound of a cork being popped on a bottle. There
It
you
is
go.
unbelievable. We managed to open the bottle.
Yeah, exactly. With this thing going, by the
That's
way,
crazy.
and a shout out to Bank of Singapore for providing us with the merchandise tonight. We've long debated the merits of the Bank of Singapore, but I think on balance, they're winning
Oh yeah.
private banking. Troy, over to you.
So, this question: if you are born in the 80s, what sort of industry or businesses would you start? That's going to Graham.
Born in the 80s. Well, I was born before the 80s, so have a little bit of insight what it was like in the 80s. What would you start in the 80s? What was a good thing to get into in the 80s? It's got to be media, maybe a music television business. How about that?
MTV.
Yeah, how about that? That's the
MTV,
business. I would
yeah.
start that because I think, the 80s was really about democratization of media, right? Which was all about cheap media. It gave everybody a voice. So without getting too philosophical, it would be that. Or what else would it be? I'm trying to think what came out in time. It's sort of
Games.
games, like
Yeah.
computer games. I was mad into that in the 80s. I was into all those sort of like the days of the 16K computer and all that, and people were like programming at home. I used to write those games as well. I never got paid for it though, unfortunately. I did win a competition. I think I won £10. So I
Wow.
got my game published. It was a snake game, which I wrote, got published in a computer magazine. But unfortunately, I never turned it into a business.
What about selling ringtones back then?
No, ringtones didn't exist back then.
No.
You're like 15 years too early. So.
Yeah.
But I think, before ringtones, interestingly, there was like the IVR business, which was like where you phoned up an answer phone and you would like, boop, press 1, and you could access different things. So there was like chat, which was like dating / chat, which you could charge, let's say in Singapore, like $3 or $4 a minute. And then there was like, they invented adventure games, didn't they? Around there's all sort of like, for one, choose one to go north, choose 2 to fight the dragon type thing.
Oh yeah.
Those things were very successful. That was a precursor to an
Text adventures, right?
yeah, text,
Text
but
adventures, yeah.
but not using SMS like in
No,
your
no.
time. But
Yeah.
so I think those are the kind of businesses you had to be quite pioneering to get into and understand the technology, and you probably needed a lot of money to set these things up. Or pirate radio.
Pirate radio, yeah.
So
Broadcasting.
it's all media.
That was before that, 70s, I think.
Yeah, even in the 80s. There was a pirate radio. Radio Luxembourg. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
I used to phone those guys up. Yeah.
There was no internet then, so that in Asia, there was no internet then. So
In
there's
Europe,
no
there was no
business.
internet?
No,
In the 80s? No.
no, okay, same here. Then.
Started in the 90s. Yeah.
Realistically. You can ask someone
I mean,
else.
I have no idea because
You didn't exist in the
Yeah.
80s. yeah, exactly. Well, you can ask other people, but it's whether or not you're happy with my answer.
what about Aaron?
What type of business?
Yeah.
And the 80s, eh?
So let's go back to the big hairstyles and
Oh,
the padded shoulders.
oh yeah,
Your disco.
disco.
Discos were the 70s.
Disco is 70s.
80s was
yeah,
new romantics and guys that wore eyeliner. That was what it was about back then. You remember New Romantics? Duran Duran?
Dance music.
Dance music. Or late 80s, yeah, obviously Acid
Oh, yeah.
House.
80s was full of dance music.
Warehouse.
Yeah. House music was 80s.
Yeah, 88, 89, Detroit, all that.
Yeah.
Go on, Aaron.
80s would probably be a good time to actually go into electronics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good time to actually go into electronics. Computers were not really like popular yet because of the punch card. They're still using the punch card at that time. Floppy disk.
Not in
came
the
out.
80s, surely.
Still, yeah.
No.
Early 80s.
Oh,
yeah.
in mainframe computers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then when they actually went to the late 80s, and it actually started to become floppy disk and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1981, I started computers. ZX81.
81.
1K.
1K.
You could do a lot.
I think you got to educate me on the punch cards.
Wow. Where do we start? How long have we got on the grind tonight? Well, interestingly, so may I? Can I indulge? It's like, the computer came from
Yeah.
the loom. The wooden loom that used to be used to spin wool, and you
Yeah.
could make wool patterns and carpets out of it.
Yeah.
So, so industrial weaving that created carpets, which was not electric, it was all powered by steam and machines, right? That created the basis or the genesis of computing today. And so, for example, the word mainframe comes from that.
Oh.
And the stack. So even now, like we talk about stack in blockchain, for example, the stack comes from that, because the patterns that they used to create carpets, mind blown. All right, bear with me. The patterns they used to create carpets of all things that made out of wool, how they created those was they had a punch card, right? And they used to punch holes in it. And each hole would relate to like where the bobbin.
So it's like a pattern.
Yeah.
So it just keeps running.
Yeah, so that if there's a hole there, the bobbin would go through that,
Oh.
and then it would miss out certain things, and that's how they created the stack, and they created that whole idea of pop and push and mainframe and so on. So it all came from that. So, yeah, I mean,
Wow.
that's the origin of computing as we know, and many of the concepts come from that still today. Amazing. I mean, you talk about blockchain, it comes from that.
And then it becomes zeros and ones. So yes, no,
Yeah.
0, 1. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I know what floppy is, but anything like
have you ever seen a floppy disk?
yes,
Have you ever used one?
yes,
You have.
yeah.
What to do? What to like throw out the window at somebody? Or you can't imagine you actually
Just play with that metal thing and just like retract then release and like
Oh, yeah, that was the hard floppy disk, though, wasn't it? Before
Yeah,
the
yeah.
real floppy disk.
just
Before
soft
that,
one.
yeah, there's before that was the bigger one, right?
3.5, 2.25, 5.25.
5.25 inch, which was
Yeah.
actually floppy. Are we gonna get a photo up?
Yeah,
Okay,
we
let's do
have
it.
one.
Yeah, but these are, I mean, these are called floppy disks, but they're actually hard floppy disks.
Yeah,
Before that, the one on the top right.
This is
isn't
the
it?
3.5 inch one. You had the 5.25 one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
5.25 over there, yeah.
These
Exactly.
ones, yeah.
And you'd put it into a machine, and you'd go, you turn it down like that, right?
Yeah.
That was the important bit. That would turn it on.
Yeah. If you don't keep them in the dry place, then it's actually start to grow fungus. And it turns white. It turns all white.
Wow.
There you go. You've been schooled on completely useless technologies.
Yeah, but it's very interesting that everything is actually just basically 0 and 1 is the whole entire process for the whole entire computers, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then punch cards evolved into like USB drives.
There you go. Punch cards. There you go.
Megabytes.
Exactly. A little bit of history. But it's good to see it still hanging in there with the concepts.
You can actually visit the what's that?
Is it a museum?
Museum, yeah, in Singapore. They
Of
keep
what?
old computers.
Floppy disk museum.
Yeah, everything that has to do with the the growth of the computer. So it starts from the floppy disk.
I had a ZX81 made by Spectrum, who were made by an inventor called Sinclair, and he was a bit of a Dyson of the age, and he made a 1K computer, and at the time it sold for £199, which is like, I don't know, 400 Sing dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
400 Sing dollars for a 1K computer, and it was, about this size, and it was you could buy a power pack extension, which was 16K, 16K, not 16 meg or 16 gig, 16K, and it was just phenomenal. And everything was command line, wasn't it? So you would actually have to enter everything. Like
Yeah.
you'd have to type in all
DOS.
the code.
Yeah, DOS.
Yeah, effectively, it's before DOS. Yeah, that was the origin of DOS, right?
Basic before that was basic. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's how it was. And some of the games were phenomenal.
Oh yeah, of course. When the World is Coming, San Diego, Leisure Suit Larry,
Yeah.
Masquerade, yeah.
Yeah, black and white.
Load Runner, mustn't forget about that one.
Load Runner, okay.
Yeah.
There we go. So you asked the question. I gave you a very long answer. Yeah,
Good.
All right, that's cool.
Good.
Let's do the next one. We're still on the pussy questions. Which side is it? Okay, this side. Oh wow, this is a very long question, and I think it might be slightly pussy, slightly tiger. I think I know who I'm going to ask it
Uh-oh.
by virtue of the fact he wrote it. You need to downsize your company. You have 3 candidates to be fired. All equally bad at their work. And here are the 3 candidates. So listen carefully, because you're going to have to choose one and ruin their life. Number 1, guy with a family with 3 kids. And his parents-in-law are living with him in his 100-meter square apartment. How can a guy with a family and 3 kids and his parents-in-law live in a 100 square meter apartment? Anyway, there you go. It's reality. So that's number 1. Number 2, single young mum with 1 child. Number 3, guy of 60 years old, unlikely to get another job. It doesn't say whether or not he's financially secure or he has any health issues. All right? You're keeping quiet on that. You have to pick one. Eric, who do you fire?
I thought these questions were supposed to be anonymous. What's going on here?
We
So
have
you
to
have
answer it in public.
You have to pick one, right? So this is a really, really tough one. And the question says they're equally bad, right? So you basically have 3
Wow.
candidates, and you want to have, you need to pick one of these. In my case, all other things being equal, I would pick the guy of 65, I think.
Well, he's 60, not 65.
Oh,
That's
all right,
important
so
distinction.
60.
That's
So-
that's ageist.
So the reasoning for this being that I think even though this person might not have the capability to find another job, if my assumption would be if he's been working all his life and he's been working up, he would probably have arranged his life in such a way that he would have retired anyway anytime soon.
Yeah.
So that would be my choice. But I mean, it's a morally very tough one to do.
All right. Well,
so-
let me ask you: what if he hadn't arranged his life?
I would still pick that guy. Yeah.
But you would have the greatest experience to teach the.
Yeah, but I mean, the question says they're equally bad at their work.
Well,
So,
Yeah.
it's a morally very tough one. I mean, that's why I wrote it down. I was hoping not to have an answer, but yeah, that's
called karma.
karma.
All right. Well, let's do this then. Let's eliminate the guy of 60 years old and reduce it to a choice of 2. Let me put it this way: you eliminate the guy of 60 years old, you fire. 6 months later, you still need to downsize your business.
Yeah. So,
Let
to
me-
be really honest, what I would have done in the real situation would fire all 3 of them.
Right, okay.
I mean, based on performance and how they're acting. I mean, it's never good, I think, in a company to keep people around who are bad in their
Yeah.
performance. And it's better to deal with this issue as soon as you can, rather than holding them on for the wrong reasons. I mean, it sounds tough, but I think that's probably what we've done.
Right, but that's why you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because you have to make tough decisions.
Yeah, and it's a bit hard. But I mean, in the end, we're all our own entrepreneur in a sense that we all need to make a living. We all need to provide for families, right? So all these people will have their own responsibility to take care of their families.
Mm.
The fact that in this situation they are not performing in my company, to be very honest, that's not my personal responsibility. It's theirs.
Mm.
And I think if they're at that point, that's that situation. I think you just need to simply let them go.
Tough. I think you handled it well.
Thank you.
Just don't want to be on the other side of the decision with you.
Yeah.
What would be the question for that?
All right. Cool. I can ask.
That might be ruthless. Can't argue about the whole. Okay.
I think you know me better than that.
I do. That's my fair.
Okay. Troy, I'm going to ask this one to you. Right. Yeah. You're managing a class of 30 graduates who want to become an entrepreneur, and you've got 3 months to show them what it's about. What's your strategy?
Wow. So what is it to develop that into an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So there's 30 people that maybe are like you, right? They want to become an entrepreneur. They've decided, look, I'm not going to go into a corporate job.
Mhm.
And you've got these guys for 3 months. How to show them to become an entrepreneur? What would you do to them, or what experience would you take them through to show them how to become an entrepreneur?
I will ask them to start a business of their own. Because from there, they'll learn best. As in, they will learn from their own mistakes.
Mhm.
They'll learn from what they do best, because each and every their strengths are different,
Yeah.
and their weaknesses are different. So they can actually realize what they're good at, what they're bad at.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, they will know, okay, if I'm good at this, I can do that way.
Hmm.
So it really develops the entrepreneurship of their own.
Yeah.
And if things don't work, they have to find a solution immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So it really changes their critical thinking
Yes.
in that way. So I believe just throwing them into shit, they would become a better shit.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, you would be there for the 3 months to
Yeah.
guide them and to help
Yeah.
them, right? Yeah. I think-
If they have any questions,
yeah,
and
sure.
we
Yeah.
just have people to answer them.
Great answer. You're awarded the next question. I really like this one. Good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one.
Over to you, Troy. You're back again.
Okay, I'm gonna ask this to Aaron.
Okay.
You have built a business that generate you significant wealth, but after some soul searching, you conclude what the business is doing is actually morally wrong. Will you keep running your business, or would you do something else?
Morally wrong.
You know, the question is morally wrong here. It's a very, very sketchy word. It's very gray. What do you mean by morally wrong? Well, okay, like example would be like I can think of an
Yeah,
example.
yeah, yeah.
Of course, I can't think about what I've done that's actually morally wrong. But like
you don't want to share that on air, by the way.
yeah, of course not. Nobody
No.
wants to. But yeah, let's talk about Philip Morris actually. So I bumped into a representative of Philip Morris down in Hong Kong during a convention. So this was actually an interesting question actually. So is Philip Morris is the largest manufacturer
Yeah.
for
Cigarettes,
tobacco products? Yes. So are they morally wrong? They make a shit ton of money, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Are they morally wrong? No. So this is the question. So what are they supposed to do about it? You know, if you actually, then if I were to actually ask myself this question, what am I going to close down? No, I have to, right? Because it's actually continue. It's not just a matter of me making money. It's about the employees that I actually have, right? Like the thousands of employees that I actually have, or even 10,000s or 100,000s. So I can't just basically go like, hey, you know what? I have earned enough. Screw you all, right? I can't just basically do that. So it is no longer a matter of actually just saying like, you know, what can you do about it? But can you just close your eye and continue to do it?
Well, it's kind of interesting, as I try and pour you a glass of wine here, Aaron, is that I know somebody made a lot of money. And I mean a lot. I won't go into the amounts, but they made a lot of money out of e-cigarettes.
Okay.
They made a shit ton of money
Mm-hmm.
because they got in really early into that market. We're talking sort of 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
And they made a lot of money, and they exited the business. They sold that business to not to Philip Morris, but another company. And you think about it, is that morally wrong
Yeah, exactly. Is it morally wrong?
to make that kind of money? Because now he lives a very good lifestyle. But do you think that's morally wrong? Would that bother you? I mean, for example, if you were in that business, you made a lot of money out of it, and
It's morally wrong. For this type of business, it's actually not very clear cut. It's not like I kill somebody to earn money, right? So it's not exactly like you see me kill somebody. And then the problem with all these scientific reports and journals, right? They flip flop a lot. They flip flop a lot. So back in the 70s, they actually tell you cigarettes are actually good for your health. You know, you even up to today, there are certain Chinese tobacco companies that actually tell you, you know what, this is actually a tonic cigarette that you're actually smoking. It actually prolongs your life. So it's very subjective. So what happened is that how do you actually say that it's morally wrong? So in Graham's case, right, like for instance, if you're actually doing like say for instance nicotine supplements, replacement through vaporizers, right? So e-cigarettes. Now the question here how it's being used is also very questionable. So because what happened is the application is there. It is actually a replacement for cigarettes. Is it more healthy? I don't know. Because what happened is even up to now, it's not long enough to actually come up with a proper scientific research on it. So everybody will just go like, oh, nicotine cigarettes, yeah, bad. So basically, but then what they don't tell you is you can. There are companies that actually sells e-cigarettes with cartridges with different levels of nicotine. So what happens? You start off with maybe about say 22 milligrams a day. and then after that you reduce it to, say next week you actually reduce it down to 15 milligrams, then you reduce it to 7 milligrams, and then after that you reduce to 3 milligrams a day. So now I'm going to ask you, is this wrong? If it's wrong, then your company like Nicorette, which is actually doing like nicotine patches, nicotine gum,
Yeah.
they are actually doing the exact same thing. Is that wrong?
But if it's morally wrong in terms of harming animals or harming the planet Earth, then that's a different question.
Yeah, true. But again, it all comes down to whether you are directly doing it and not a long-term, questionable thing. So if you are saying if it's directly doing it, then it really depends on how good the money is, I guess.
And if I'm not wrong, Philip Morris actually is driving innovation in terms of disrupting themselves with by developing the e-cigarettes
Right.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
Well, they have to, otherwise they're going to be
Yeah.
out of business.
they have IQOS. I
So-
quit ordinary smoking.
For example, putting a McDonald's in a McDonald's sponsored children's day center in a hospital where they have those in hospitals
Oh,
where you have the McDonald's house, the Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is
But the interesting, the premise of this question, of course, is that the morals are very personal.
Oh, yeah.
But what I wanted to get at, I wrote the question, what I wanted to get at with this is that if money is involved, morals become gray.
Yes, it is.
you justify it, right?
This is personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when money is involved, morals become gray. It's easy to say, I would never sell cigarettes to children. But if somehow you ended up in this startup e-cigarette business and you're ending up selling e-cigarettes to children, at some point you say, yeah, but it's the parents' responsibility to make sure that the children don't start smoking, right? You can start justifying it quite easily
Oh, yeah.
when money is involved. But
Yes.
it's good, I think, at some point in life to sort of take the reset, right? Go back. If you would be involved in something like this, I'm not saying anyone of us is, but it's good at some point in life to go back and think, what are my values here? What am I doing? Is this right? Is this not right?
Okay.
If
Yes,
you
I mean,
are in this spot, right?
Well, then it comes down to this question over here: how good is the money, right?
Well,
Right,
yeah,
right.
but
Yeah.
does money justify things against your own morals?
Yeah, I've done that.
Me too.
I won't talk about on air exactly what it is, but I've taken money for something which was, in hindsight, was morally wrong.
Yep.
Not
Me too.
not recently. Go back sort of more years ago in business. I can't talk about the instance because even in this context it doesn't make sense. But I have sort of compromised my morals for money. But not my not my body or anything like that. But I'm doing it in the business, boys and girls. You know what I mean? So,
Well, I have a very special set of friends, right? So they actually asked this question: how much can you be bought? It's not as clean as the question. It's like how much you bend over. Think of your pants and bend over, right?
Yeah.
So it like, everything can be bought. And then
You think so?
the question, well, yes,
I'm not
sadly
sure.
but true.
I would disagree. Depends how desperate you are.
Yes.
I don't think everything can be bought.
Well, everything is on the environment that you create for it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So you can actually push it. There's always a tipping point. So basically, what happened is that now the question comes down to is how much to actually make you think that it's okay.
Yeah.
So the problem is, again, comes back down to the question is how lucrative it is.
Right. Well, I think the problem is in business is that you end up justifying something.
Oh, yeah.
Logically, you're trying to rationalize something.
With money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because everything is a
the afterthought.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we're not really. None of us are in a business which is morally apprehensible or reprehensible or in a sketchy area. So I don't think it's.
Yeah, exactly. Lucky.
Well, I don't know about you, Eric, but
No, I'm not. But this issue has played in my life.
Yeah.
Same with Graham. I don't want to discuss the details too much, but it does make you realize, like, there is a universe, and there is a world out there that if you do wrong, it's something. Sometimes it's better to realize that and just stop and change if you can.
But the moral compass is actually different from each person to each person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So basically, what happened is that the person that is actually doing it,
Exactly.
to him is right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think now is the time to move on to the tiger questions.
There we go.
Are we ready?
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
Who asked the last one? The Maori Reds.
To Aaron.
Yeah.
I think Aaron can
Are you happy with the answer?
Yeah.
Don't.
I mean, it's a totally different take, and that's a really great perspective
It
to
is.
have.
It is. It's always good to have a different perspective, but you've got to believe that his answer was worthy.
Psst, Troy. Good job.
Remember what he said to you when you answered the age question. He wasn't convinced. So it's karma. But if you're in the interest of peace and harmony in the room, then you can award him the question. Never think about it.
Wow.
Don't want to put you on the spot or anything. I think we give it. I think we.
Okay, I'll award him. Yeah.
There you go. Come on to the tiger question. So we've warmed up with the pussy questions.
Ooh, tiger
We're on the
questions.
third bottle of wine, everybody. So now all you've seen up until this point is just a warm up, and now this is where the real insight into entrepreneurship starts. The real voice of the entrepreneur comes out.
Wow. This is a two-part question.
And there must be Eric's then.
No.
Multifaceted.
Surprisingly.
Question. So shout out to the person who asked it.
Nah, it's supposed to be anonymous.
No, they're not.
Gustavo.
Gustavo
Gustavo Liu.
Yeah.
This is a really good question, actually. It's a very difficult question.
That's why
So,
we're here.
I am going to ask Graham this.
All right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
basically, So now this is this will probably be good. How would you fire an underperforming but loyal employee?
Right. What's
Yeah.
the second part of the question?
Please role play this with someone in the room.
Eric, as my loyal employee of 20 years, but underperforming, I have to add. Can you please come to my office and have a chat?
Sure.
All right. I won't actually do this with any of my real employees, so because it was not going to happen like
Sure
this.
about that?
We had an interesting conversation. I don't want to pussy around, but we had an interesting conversation today about styles in these moments, like communication. It's all about communication, isn't it? And something I'm not particularly good at. So how do you fire an underperforming but loyal employee? All right, so I'm going to role play with you.
Okay.
All
I'm
right.
going to get into the role of your employee.
Yeah, so you've done 5 years with my mobile gaming blockchain startup.
That's right. I was here in the beginning.
Do you remember when we started it? We were listening to that tiny little office. We
That's
just like
right.
you and me.
It was
and
great. I still love it here.
Yeah. I remember you invited me to your wedding and
Yeah.
your daughter's christening. And
Absolutely.
you know-
Even though I was a Muslim, you
but
came to the christening. It
you're-
was amazing.
I know, exactly. It's amazing what can happen. Eric, sit down. I think you need to sit down for this.
I'm sitting. It's great here. I mean, I love sitting here.
Yeah,
You have such a comfortable office.
Yeah. Well, Eric, it's not you, but it's me.
It's you. What's wrong with you? Do you have any problems at home?
Yeah, I have this problem. I have a cash flow problem. No, it's not. It's not that problem. It's an underperforming problem. Listen, Eric.
You've
Look,
got an underperforming problem? Who's underperforming?
Eric, I gotta be tough here. It's you.
I'm underperforming
Yeah.
for 5 years?
Not for 5 years. For the last year. You know.
Oh, wow.
You know those sales targets
Yes.
that you haven't been hitting.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Well, we've got to have a talk about that.
Okay.
Okay. So, we've talked about this already.
Okay.
You remember when we had that chat?
No.
All right. Okay. Let me remind you. We had that chat when we went for lunch.
Sure.
And
yeah.
I laid out to you, look, Eric, you got to do something about this. And it didn't happen.
Yeah, because I didn't get enough support from you.
Well, I mean, you could put it like that. But at the end of it,
You remember I asked you for the training, sales training? I didn't get any sales
I
training.
was
from you.
traveling at the time.
Well, you could have
You
gotten...
don't need sales training, man. You've been here for 5 years.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't sell if I don't know how to sell, and you don't teach me how to sell.
Yeah, well, is it my role to teach you how to sell?
You're the owner of the company. In the end, you need to make sure I have the right tools, and I don't have the right tools. I can't
You have
do
the
what I
right tools, but I don't think it's the right mindset. You know when you like the other day when you like clocked off at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I had to go to my wife's gym class.
Well, you know what? I actually phoned up your wife. And I looked at her Instagram, and she wasn't in the gym class.
Hmm.
In fact, I've got your wife on the line right now.
Okay, I'll call her.
What's she going to say?
That I wasn't at the gym class, probably. Yeah.
Well, Eric, listen,
Okay.
let's cut to the quick. I'm sorry, but I have to. We have to call it a day.
Oh, I can go home now?
Well, don't come back. Oh, listen, look. You know, I think this is what it's about. I'm
Okay.
gonna pay you out your notice.
Okay.
And because you've been here for 5 years, I'll pay you out an extra month. So your notice plus an extra month, which I don't have to do, but I want to make sure that you get a good job at the end of it and find something.
Well, I don't think I have enough time to find another job, so I probably need another 3 months to do that.
Well, that may be the case, but you know what I mean? I'm laying it out to you. Like, get the fuck out, Eric.
All right, bye-bye.
Eric has left the building. Can we have a shot on his chair there? There you go. I'm actually not very good at doing that, but there you go. That is, I think, it is the hardest thing to do, and it's not easy. And I've actually, I wouldn't say I've had to fire loyal employees. I've had to fire employees before.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, and I think some people are good at it, but I'm not. And I just think, I don't know. And I think the worst thing is to delegate that to somebody, and get somebody else to fire somebody. You've got to sit with somebody and do it.
Yeah, I think it's better in a three-way conversation.
Three-way.
Or like sort of a weakness.
Witness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that he can sort of cover your ass.
Yeah. It's not easy. How do you do I throw up my hands and say that I wasn't very good at that. What do you think, Eric?
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah,
but
it's okay.
Out of 10, how did I deal with it?
Probably like a 6.
A 6, yeah. I think that's been generous. I think you've got to give it to somebody else to have a go now.
Okay. No, well, we gave it to somebody that actually has experience. So now we give it to somebody that doesn't.
Oh, wow.
Have you ever fired anybody before?
No.
Not until tonight.
So now you have to fire somebody that's actually loyal. Loyal to you now.
Oh, my.
So pick your loyal subject and then fire them. How would you do it? So first of all, you've got to pick somebody.
Uh-oh.
Let's do it, Graham.
All right, let's bring it on. What do you want to talk about, Troy?
Hey, Graham. I know we had a good times, you know, where you even stay up in the office till like 12 a.m.
Oh, and later, yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, I missed my daughter's birthday to help get that project done.
Yeah, you're great in being a dad.
Oh,
in,
yeah.
in every way.
Oh yeah, because I just got my son into international school, and like I know, like I paid so much money, but I know, like hopefully this job will grow, and you know.
Yeah, I mean it will grow, but sad to say that there's some things that we gotta put it that in such a way that might not be favorable to you, because in recent times that the sales has been down, you know.
Yeah.
And there has been sort of a cultural misfit so far. Our culture has been changing with all the new hires, and you haven't been really sort of up to task when I asked you to.
Mm-hmm.
So to put it out straight, that I would actually we have to part ways.
Are you leaving?
Yeah, I'm living away sort of from you.
What does that mean, Troy?
Yeah, I mean, this business is very important, but to have you in would be great, but there are times where we have to bring it higher, but you're unable to come with us this time around.
So yeah, don't worry about it. I've got it sorted. I'll work harder next week.
Damn it, it's tough.
Yeah, it is. It is.
No, don't worry about it, Troy. I've got it. I've got this. I'm taking a training course, and I am taking an online course about selling. And I've got this. Don't worry. Don't worry. All your worries will go away. I've got this. I'll turn up Monday, and we'll see results.
I mean, although you're with me for the past 3 years, but for the past 1 year, it hasn't been really great. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know you had tough time.
And
I had a tough time.
And I've seen those antics where you're playing games behind your laptop.
Well, I mean, you can call it playing games, but
And I think it's not favorable for our business.
yeah. I can change.
Yeah, I think we gotta call it off. Sad to say,
I can
yeah.
stop playing games.
I mean, even if you stop playing games, I don't think you can have us with the team anymore. So I'm gonna call you off, and then I mean we will pay you for additional month notice.
Right.
Yeah, sounds a bit harsh, but yeah, this is the way that we have to go with it. So I will need you to send in your resignation letter,
Oh.
and then I'll give you recommendation to find your future
So I'm being fired.
job. Yeah.
You're firing me.
Yes.
Woohoo! Troy, I think that was not bad, honestly, for never having done that.
Yeah.
Very, very pretty good.
How would you rate it? Graham.
Yeah, well, it was quite enjoyable being
Yeah.
fired. Yeah, no, I enjoyed being fired.
Honestly, I'm very impressed. Seriously,
Yeah, you handled it pretty well.
very, very well.
You didn't. Would you ever say the word like "you're fired"?
I wouldn't
Donald
say
Trump
that.
style?
I would say that to send your resignation letter. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know how it is in Singapore, but in the UK, and I don't think it's different to many European countries, but if you say to an employee, just out of interest, like if you say to an employee, like you need to put in your resignation letter, you as the employer
Yeah.
can get into a lot of trouble
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's like called unfair dismissal because you're forcing them to resign against their will.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a minefield. You handled it really well, but legally it's a real minefield. Less so in Singapore compared to other countries.
I think it is actually. It is also a minefield in Singapore, starting
Yeah.
to get bigger as well. So now there's like you need to actually send out 3 notice warning letters, and then before you can actually
Yeah, right,
fire.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Because-
in the UK, for example, you can fire somebody for any reason you want up to 1 year in service, but after 1 year you have to go through all this kind of process, right? Which is like it gets really convoluted. So you're very conscious of a person coming up to 1 year. So like what tends to happen in the UK is a lot of people get fired in their 11th month for that reason.
Oh wow.
Because once they're in, it's really hard to get them out.
Because in some countries you couldn't fire people, but you need someone to actually send in the resignation letter.
Yeah, in Japan, you're not allowed to fire
Yeah.
somebody. It's not.
Serious.
I mean, that's crazy, right? But there you go.
So you gotta understand the different sort of laws and
Yes, I mean, normally you would do this after consulting with a person that knows HR really well, right, and knows how to handle this.
Yeah.
I think what you did quite well is you tried to get the message about you're fired out as quick as you can, because that's what happened with Graham and myself, right? If you start getting into a ping pong situation, then you can't get the message out anymore. So
And it
That's,
becomes a power play.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
How many people have you fired?
Me personally, not that many. I at one point I had to lay off the whole company.
How many was that?
Yeah, that was 50 people.
So you say not many.
Well, but to be very honest, at that point, I have not done that myself. I was a shareholder in that company, and I I was part of that. But the rest of my team handled that because the company had to shut down.
Shut down, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't had a lot of experience with these kind of conversations. So.
It's not good. I've
No.
done it, and I'll tell you what it's like. It's like in the shower in the morning.
You're scared.
Yeah, it's going through your head, and it's going through your head. It's going through your head. It's going through your head, and then you go in, you do it, and it's like a huge relief
Yeah.
because it's never as bad as, especially. I mean, if you have like young employees, it's a lot easier because they just bounce back. They get on with stuff. I've never had to fire somebody who had 3 kids in international school, for example, in this, and people whose livelihood depended on me. But that whole thing, it's tough. You're like in the shower and you think, oh God, I've got to do this today. Just get it out of the way and get it done.
Yeah.
But I think the worst part is like letting it hang, like weeks and weeks and weeks, and then we've got to do this. I'm more of the, whether for good or bad, I'm more of the opinion that you've just got to deal with it, deal with it, and then move on.
I've had many situations though where I learned that hanging on to people too long has caused a lot of damage by not being willing to
let them go
to take the tough decision. Yeah.
Right.
They can some employees can sense it that you're actually not happy with them, and then they start to do really weird things. So procrastinating.
What do you mean by weird things?
They start to do things that that is actually against the company interests. That they specifically in such a way that they feel that it will hurt you the most.
Really?
Yeah.
Revenge.
Yeah, revenge. Yes, exactly. So sometimes procrastinating is not doing anybody a favor.
No, just get on with it.
Yeah,
Move on.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that was a tiger question and well handled.
I mean, I've read a book about the hard things about hard things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were talking about firing as well.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
good.
Don't think too much. Just say if you have to do it, you have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. No, and it's with
Cool.
you, Troy.
So you get the question. You get to ask the next question.
Right. No, you get to award it, don't you? Or who was firing who?
Troy was firing Graham in the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Troy
Yeah.
wins.
Troy wins. Yeah.
Does
So
Troy win?
he
I don't
can
know.
he can ask the next question. I think.
No. There you go. So Troy,
Okay.
as the man of the hour, the Donald Trump on the table. You get to ask the next one.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Does it get harder?
Okay, I'm gonna ask Eric on this.
All right.
I'm not too sure-
Another one of my questions, probably.
Yeah.
I'm not
it's
too sure whether
calm.
you have this. You're crafting this question, but you find out that your business partner has been secretly creating a competing business with you,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys have been running this together.
Mm-hmm.
So what will you do?
Yeah. Again, I wrote the question, so I know. I was hoping not that they wouldn't come back to me.
It's
right?
called karma, right?
Yeah, I know. This hasn't happened to me, so I don't. This is not a question from experience. But what I would do is, if I would find out that my business partner has started a competing business, I would not say anything. I would find a way to isolate the assets of our company in a way that it is mine. So I would secretly, without telling him, trying to move the assets, whatever it is, whether it's IP or whether it's whatever it is, to protect the business that we've run together. I would find a way to move that into my control. And then when I have it in my control, then I would confront the guy or girl and say, look, we have to part ways. But just so you know, I've made sure that all the assets that we've built together are mine. And I wish you good luck with your venture, but you don't screw me over. That's what I would do.
Wow.
So you will actually start dividing the assets or
I would
isolating the assets.
You're
I
protecting
would,
yourself, right?
without telling him, I would secretly make sure that I'm in control of the assets of the company.
Yeah.
You have
Whatever
you have
that
the
is.
keys,
Yeah, I have the keys to the door somehow.
the vault.
I mean, I would have to have really good proof of this, that this is going on. But I mean, that's not too difficult, right? I mean, and what I would do then is, basically make sure that I secure my position, so that I don't, because otherwise I could end up being the very losing party in this thing. If I'm stuck with 50% of a business that the partner doesn't contribute anymore, that business will die.
Oh, yeah.
For very likely, right?
Mm.
So I wouldn't go about it the nice way. I wouldn't go and bring it up saying, hey, I found this out. What are we going to do about this? I would try to secure my position and confront it, I think. Yeah. Had never have to deal with this, fortunately. But learning my lessons in, having difficult situation with partners, I would do it this way, I think.
I mean, there are some documents that would require like the other party to know about it.
Yeah, I would go very far in trying to get that arranged without him knowing about that.
Yeah.
So
Get your ducks in a line,
yeah,
then pull the trigger.
right. Because the way that I look at this is like, look, I've worked very hard to build this business, whereby the partner clearly doesn't feel the same way about it and tries to do something outside and compete. So yeah, that's what I would do.
It's good.
Yeah, that's happened to me.
Oh.
Yeah, in not that order though, roughly. But
Yeah.
your approach is exactly what I would do. You just got to get all your shit together, because you can act emotionally, can't you? But you've got to do it on your terms.
Yeah, I want to add a little bit. I mean, it's not in my nature to be tough and to be hard and to be nasty. Absolutely not. But I mean, if I would find out that the other side, the person that I trusted has done that,
Yeah.
then I find, okay, then I need to go and protect myself first before pull
I
the
mean,
trigger on
they
it.
really have the intent to
Well,
actually.
not only the intent, they've executed
Yeah,
on
they've done it.
the
They've
intent.
done it.
Right? They've
Yeah.
done it. So.
Yeah, they've done it, and you can't change that, can you? And that's the
Yeah.
point, isn't it? Trying to be nice to them.
There's no win-win solution to this conflict. It's gonna be a conflict.
Yeah.
It's gonna blow up.
Yeah.
So it better blow up with you having protected
But
your
it's going to
side
blow
of
up less when you're right. It's going to blow up less when you've protected yourself, because then
Yeah.
it gets less, like shit flying. It's going to happen. But
Yeah.
if you protected yourself, you're in a better position. You can just kind of walk away without
Yeah.
all that shit that goes with it. Yeah,
It's good.
it's good.
I'm gonna award you that one.
Yes.
Just before you give it to him, I want to say that I would add to that.
Uh-huh.
I would also say, like, yes, this is good, because actually I enjoy competition. And you know what?
Yeah.
A lot of entrepreneurs are motivated by, like you watch all the, like personal development stuff, like go and create something amazing in the universe. Like sometimes, like I think the best motivation is trying to prove the motherfucker wrong, right? And sometimes having people out there who like, it's great to go out there and do something amazing, but sometimes when you've got this, you have to be chased by an animal, like a wild animal sometimes, to run faster, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's great motivation from time to time.
Yeah, but you have to put hurdles. So isolating the property
Yeah, all that.
and then giving him a handicap.
Yeah, exactly. But I bet you're going to run the fastest ever 100 meter or the fastest ever 1 kilometer when you've got like a tiger chasing you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So survival, man. It's how it is on the grind.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Graham, this one's for you. I'm sure you agree, no regrets is the way to live your life. But if you did have one regret from your business career, what would it be?
I don't agree that no regrets is the way to. I think you should have lots of regrets. So
Okay.
I know people say, "Oh, I don't have any regrets." I have lots of regrets, and I don't, for whatever reason, I think I made a lot of mistakes, and I look back on it and think, I wish I'd done that differently. I think every day like that, I wish I'd done things differently. I don't know. Would you call that a regret? Is that a regret?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think in this case, could you mention one regret, specific one that you had in your business career? Which one would it be, and maybe how would you now, knowing what you know now, have handled it differently?
I've started businesses with people that I shouldn't have started businesses with.
Okay, and it hasn't ended well, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay, so knowing that now, how would you then do that differently?
Not
now?
start with them.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, so do you? Okay, so the people you work with now, I mean,
Yeah.
you still go into partnership with people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
So do you check people out more? Do you figure out, is this the right person to work with? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of had this conversation today, didn't we? It's like, does, like, for example, if you, like, you're going to date women in your life, right?
Mhm.
Relationships.
Or men?
Or men, however, or whatever your fancy is, you're going to date things. And then you're gonna some of them are going to be bitches. Does that put you off dating?
Mm.
Exactly. So you can't sort of let that put you off. It's just like, it just kind of informs you better for the next one.
Hmm. So are you more careful in protecting your position in a partnership now?
I should be, but I'm not sure if I am. I think what I'm careful of is like legally, maybe, in the sense that, you know, I'm more aware of going into an informal arrangement now.
Right.
And I think that's what I'm aware of because, you know, I'm legally more informed now.
Mm.
Like informal co-founder agreements, for example, can be difficult.
Yes.
They can work out all right. I mean, if you find the right person, like we've had informal agreements, and it's you know, it's worked out in the end
Mm-hmm.
because we've got a really good relationship. However, that's not always the case, right? With
Right.
some other people, where, you know, there isn't that kind of level of trust that we have, right? So informal relationships, I think, are generally a bad idea. So that's kind of what I've learned. So to your point about, am I more informed going into, or more careful? Yeah. Emotionally, no. But logically, yes. If that makes sense. Like, you know, I know now, for example, I can go onto Asia Law Network and for $50 phone up a lawyer and get advice on structuring an informal agreement, a formal agreement for co-founders, right? So I know I can do that now, whereas before I didn't. I'll just go into it and, yeah, we're going to work it out. We're optimists. It's all going to happen. And it's all going to work out fine. And then it doesn't. So the first ever business relationship I had was with my best mate, who no longer is my best mate.
Yeah.
Work it out, right? But he walked out of the business, and I was left with all the debt.
Right.
And I went to like insolvency court as a result of it, and he just walked away from it. So, you know, that's my regret, because I was left with all. I had to pay it all off. I didn't declare bankruptcy. I paid off everything myself personally over a period of like 6 or 7 years. I didn't have to do it, but I didn't want to have a bankruptcy strike against me. I worked out a deal with all my creditors and said, well, I'll pay you this off over 6 or 7 years. That's a big regret, because at the time I should have been different in my relationship with that friend.
Yeah. It's tough, this one. I mean, you can't be, it's the same with dating, right? I mean, you can't dwell on the pain of the last one too long, because we're in the business of building businesses, and it's all about people and relationship and partnerships for the most part, right? So you can't become too cautious, because then nothing will happen anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So it's good to structure things legally so you're protected, but
Yeah, but the legal documents actually turns friends off actually.
well, it's good. It's a filter, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it does.
Well, that's very true, isn't it? If they are turned off by it, then
Oh, by the way, we are supposed to be friends, but here's a shareholder agreement right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
You know, just in case in future when we actually discuss something, that might actually turn the business plan. This is going to be like how it's going to be divided, right?
So it'd be interesting. I had, without going into too much detail, I had a business arrangement with my brother, and it worked out really well, because I was so scared of, like, because, you know, I'd known my brother for 40 plus years, as you do, because you're like, you know, he's your brother, and I was so scared of like having to sit down and like, oh no, I've got to talk about this and I've got to talk about money, and I said to him, look, let's just do this on business terms and having a relationship and work this out, and it worked out fantastic, because exactly that, at the day one we said, let's do this on business terms.
Yes.
And it worked out so nicely that I've kind of learned a big lesson from that. Like, because I could have done like, oh, let's just kind of do this as brothers, which you would do in a sort of an informal relationship, right? In business.
Oh, I've borrowed money from my brother, and I've got a contract with him. So, I mean, you need to do this.
Yeah.
You got to get it on paper, I think.
Yeah, but you probably do that when you are actually like more experienced with life.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So when was he actually borrowing money from you? Like, how old were you?
I know, this is, 3 years ago, probably. Yeah. So, I mean, we both said we need to get this on paper.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think it's good to have it on paper. Right?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. So, but
Was that an easy conversation?
What, him borrowing?
No,
me
not about the borrowing, but the actual getting it on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we both like, okay, we got to put, it's not a real formal contract, but it was a, you know, we did structure
it is a
sort of a
written,
piece of paper that outlines the roles and responsibility. And
That's awesome, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
That was a very good conversation.
yeah,
so.
he didn't turn around and said, "Oh, like, you're my brother. Why are we doing this? Like, why you treat me like a
Yeah.
client?"
No, it was
Whatever.
more also he that was, you know, happy to have something on paper. I was like, okay, we gotta get this on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever you get around to it, I said, no.
No,
we're
let's do it now.
We're gonna
No.
get this on paper.
Not
So-
avoid it, because it's easier to kind of keep kicking the can on that, isn't
Alright.
it? And that's generally what happens. Is, oh, we'll get round to this. We'll get round to this.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hey, you don't ever.
No. The next Tiger question for you, Brian.
You giving that to me?
Yeah.
I feel.
That was a good answer.
Thank you. All right, so here we go.
Dun, dun,
Aaron,
dun.
I can't answer you this one, I'm afraid.
Uh-oh.
Sorry. But you may get it if these guys don't come up. I'm going to ask you this one,
Uh-oh.
Aaron. You have been building a successful business for the last 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very successful. You're making a lot of money.
Woohoo.
There you go. And surprisingly, out of the blue, the government decides to change the regulation such that your change is so drastic. This is not Singapore, by the way. This is anywhere in the world. It's hypothetical, hypothetical, wherever it is that we are. The change is so drastic that it makes it impossible for you to run your business profitably.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they rescind your license or something like that, put you out of business.
Or make it more difficult to actually apply for the license.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or renew. Yeah.
Exactly. So you maybe because wherever this country is that you're a foreigner, so you can't actually apply for a license, and it just makes it so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you can't make a profit like you used to. What do you do?
Well, if you can't make a profit at all, then basically, yeah, it's time to stop that business, right? Like change direction and then pivot from there. You can't avoid this. Seriously, you can't avoid this. If you are in technology, you can't avoid this. So if there is going to be bound to be some form of regulation or another, if you're actually doing
You're not going to put up a fight, Aaron.
the new frontier, how are you going to put up a fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's the government.
Well, you can if you are big enough, if you are lucrative enough, yeah, you can control the government. You can set up lobbies. You can actually influence it. You can create polls, and then basically, then of course this is actually really way. But then of course that's if you're actually into that level. But then you wouldn't be fighting it on your own.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to this, then if you are actually fighting this on your own, then basically you know what, don't bother. Don't bother at all. It's much more economical just basically to actually pivot or change direction, and don't bother, because what happened is that there is no reasonable way to actually fight this. If you see when the government actually regulates it, change a policy, then it doesn't matter which country, of course. Then what happened is the only way to actually have them backtrack or revise it is to actually avoid the business totally.
Yeah.
If enough people actually avoid this business, then they know that for a fact that, you know what, something is wrong, something with their regulation is wrong. So that's the only way you can do it. So don't do it. Just don't do it. Just basically go like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to actually close the company down and then just switch or change direction.
Fair enough. I think that's wise advice, but I'm not convinced it's the best piece of advice on the table. And by the way, big shout out to our listeners and our audience tonight. So we have some comments, and I'll feed those in on the live chat in a minute. Let's talk about those comments in response to. So yeah, I've got them into the other questions. Erik,
Yes, sir.
would you like to have a go at answering this question, or is it too personal for you?
No, I don't mind answering it.
Can I preface?
Sorry?
Can I preface the question, or you want to do it yourself?
Go for it.
Erik had a very successful SMS business in Indonesia. Very successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got shut down.
Yep. I mean,
That's the preface.
yeah, that was the preface. I mean, I was in this exact situation, and it was so drastic. It was not even that I couldn't make a profit anymore. I couldn't operate the business anymore, and there were all sorts of other consequences to this shutdown. But your advice, Aaron, is right. I mean, I think what we dwelled on too long is the thought that this will blow over. Seriously, I mean, we were so stunned by. I mean, we were running value-added SMS services or premium SMS services, subscription-based, so horoscope services, a soccer scores, also giveaways, and the government stopped, the business completely from one day to the other.
Did you know they were going to do it?
Well, I knew like a couple of days before that this was blowing up,
Right.
but it was quite sudden. And I think we were a couple of months. We thought this is going to blow over. It's going to change, or they're going to make up their mind, or they're going to change their mind, right? And that we've wasted a lot of time in the thought that this will blow over. And you have to imagine, I mean, in our case, basically what it meant was we went from having revenue to having nothing coming in from one day to the other.
Could you put a number on it?
I would prefer not to, but I mean,
Roughly?
it was a lot of money. It was millions
Yeah.
coming in, and from one day to the other, nothing. We had 50 people in staff in the office. And we dwelled on it quite long. plus problems were coming from all sorts of ways. It was government, it was investigations left, right, and center. So I think the lessons we've had from that is exactly as you say, Aaron. If this happens for a reason. Whatever the reason was that it happened. It could be objective review of the business, or it could be forces beyond your control. But if it happens beyond your control, then accept the tsunami coming your way and just pivot with it. And we did.
How long did it take for you to think like that? Because I imagine you didn't think that the next day and thought, "Oh, that's fine. Whatever happens, happens."
We were, I think, in a coma for 3 months.
But you personally, how long do you think it took to rationalize that? To get to the point where you weren't sort of angry and bitter about it? Because I would have been for a long time.
I have been angry and bitter about it for a long time. But I mean, the point where we started taking control of the situation was about 3 months.
Right.
That's long,
Yeah,
3 months
yeah.
burn rate of 50 people in the office without any money coming in. That was long time. So, and then at that point, we started taking the right decisions. But I mean, the decisions, unfortunately, were to shut down this particular business. But also, I mean, I think the lesson I've learned from this is, and I had very good business partners, Indonesian business partners, who did most of the heavy lifting on this particular case. I mean, it's not a star on my jacket that I've dealt with this so well. I mean, I had really, really good guys that worked with me that did this. But at the point where we decided, look, this is not going to go over, and okay, this is reality now. What do we need to do? That was a point where we, shut down the company, started laying off people, just basically decided this is not going to, summer is not going to come.
To actually elaborate on your point, right? It's actually very simple. It's when you make a decision, you are the only person that's actually making the decision. So it's very fast. It has to be really snappy, right there on the spot, instantaneous. But when the government actually makes a regulation, it's actually a group of people that actually argued among themselves for a very long period of time, and then they finally come into agreement and consensus, and then they go like, yeah, I'm going to actually place this. By the time they actually review it, 6 months, even before they actually decide to actually review it, 6 months has already gone by.
Yeah.
So if you were to actually go like, yeah, you know what, it's going to blow over, this tsunami is going to just...
You don't have the time.
It doesn't work that way because like 50 employees, right?
Yeah.
So each month is going to cost you like about hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's not favorable financially.
No.
Yeah. Well, that was a tough question.
Well, we were young, inexperienced. It was a really first really big business we built. I mean, a lot of good lessons learned. But I mean, there is the way is to realize the bad things quickly and not ignore it and just act on it.
Yeah.
And just brace for the storm, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Backing that into the other question about regrets. Maybe.
I mean, whether this is a big regret of mine.
No, did you regret how it played out? Do you think it could have played out differently? Could you?
Well, in the end, I think it played out very well for us. I mean, personally, the three partners in this business came out okay with this. I think all our employees have found other work, so they're all safe. A regret getting into this business, but I mean, it's not really fair to say because it's given me good income for a long period. So, I mean, I can't say that it was a regret doing this, but I mean, not a regret experiencing this too. It's been a very good life lesson, I think, for me. And, I mean, it has shaped my, sort of my parameters of doing business now.
Absolutely.
They are different. The stuff I want to do now has to have a contribution. I have to have joy doing it. I'm not going to scale up a business this big anymore. So these kind of things are the lessons I've learned from it and taken away from it, I think.
That's great insights. And that's kind of why we do the grind, is like these stories are not often told, are they?
Yeah.
I'm really glad you shared that. And just before we go on to the next question, you can decide whether or not that was a good answer, is that shout out to our listeners and audience. And so on YouTube, the comments coming in, excuse me if I got the names wrong, but RJHATL, whatever that stands for. So you can school me on that. That's an excellent book. What would that be about? That'd be about the
Hard Things About Hard Things.
Who wrote that? So it's such a good book that you can't remember who wrote it. So maybe you can fill us in. But he also says, or she, sorry, if you have no regrets, you haven't really pushed your limits, you're going to screw up. That's how you learn.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
I think we'll post a link to the Amazon
Yeah.
about the books.
To your
later.
affiliate link.
Yeah.
There we go. Good. Hard things about the hard things. Yeah, we was curious about who the author is. So.
His name is Ben Horowitz.
Oh, Ben Horowitz,
Yeah.
as in the investor.
The hard things about hard things,
Yeah.
building a business when there are no easy answers.
Yeah, exactly. There's been good books like that published recently. Ben Horowitz, obviously, and also Ray Dalio, Principles.
It's on discount on Amazon, $16.
16 bucks.
While we're on the topic of Amazon and then talking about government regulation,
Well, maybe let's skip through to the next.
I want
question.
to actually go like, it's very difficult to use Kindle in Singapore.
I guess not because I'm using a Kindle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to buy a book like that. But it is not. a
Anyway,
service.
Aaron,
Yeah,
let's move
skip,
on.
let's
Okay,
skip.
yes, exactly. Yeah, there you go. So, are you happy? I'm going to award this to. You're going to award this to Eric. I think Eric's asked a lot
This
of the
one
questions.
over here. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
You've done very well.
Okay, so who would I ask this? Okay, Aaron, because my last question was to Graham, so this one is for you. What is the one thing you wish somebody had told you before you started your own business?
I need more drinks.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah,
That wasn't the answer, by the way.
that is actually the answer.
Exactly. Let's get the bottle over there. Pass the bottle. Troy, you do the honors. Fill up the man here. What is the one thing? I mean, there must be more.
Yeah, so what is the one thing you wish somebody had told you before you started your own
Well,
business?
there's always things, isn't there? I'm not going to answer for you, but I'm just going to preface it. There's always things that you wish you would have been told, because that's what it's all about. You learn.
Troy, you're not pouring beer. This is red wine, my friend.
But there's there's always you always get into a
Troy is
situation.
do or die now.
Yeah, when you
Troy is all in on this one.
All in, double down, man.
So,
Aaron, go on, man.
I mean, when you actually start a business, right? Regardless whether you are actually experienced or not experienced, you're going to bump into a situation that's actually totally that you have never visited before, right? So there's always a question that you always go like, yeah, why didn't somebody tell me about this, right? And there's so many questions.
What is the one thing? Is there one thing? Do you want to think about it? Let somebody else answer.
Maybe I can frame it a bit for you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's easy to give you some time to think.
Yeah,
I'm buying you time.
Yeah, good teamwork.
So maybe it's a difficult situation you faced in your business whereby it took you a long time to figure out the obvious answer or the obvious decision in this particular situation, right? So that could have been something whereby it has cost you time because you had to think or work through the problem. Well, if somebody had told you in the beginning, well, if ever this happens to you, go left, instead of you having to spend a couple of months figuring out, do I go left or do I go right?
I'm going to say that I spent a couple of years to actually think about this, right? So because the legal process is actually that long. So when you read about people, about things, right, in business, they actually tell you, what, competition is good. Everything is all about competition. Everything is about fair play, and then you're supposed to actually strive for the best. What they don't tell you is your competitors actually bear grudges. They always tell you, what, it's not business to bear grudges, because what happens is the person that you are actually competing with might be your partner next. There's a lot of books, there's a lot of articles about this. But then what happens, they don't tell you realistically, that people bear grudges. Simple as that.
Right.
Yeah. So what happens is that, no, your competitors do not think of you as a future partner. They think about you as a somebody to eliminate, and they bear grudges about that. So you have to be really careful when you handle this or you deal with this. Always try to protect yourself. Always try to protect, most importantly, yourself and your business, of course. So one thing I would actually say is always remember this, is that if you were to actually rub somebody the wrong way, or even if you don't realize it, that you're rubbing somebody the wrong way, competitor, or it could be a partner, or it could be a business partner, always remember this. They are human. They will bear grudges. So always remember that, try to actually be as gentleman as possible on this. It doesn't matter whether you're actually dealing with a competitor. It doesn't matter whether you're dealing with even more so if you're dealing with a partner. So always remember, people bear grudges.
The statement is just business is basically bullshit, right?
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
So it's personal, right? I mean,
Yes.
everything you do, everything you relate to. If you relate to a partner, a vendor, a competitor,
Yes.
it's not just business, right? It's personal.
Well, when you say business, it's actually about advantage, right? So basically, you're actually an advantage because you're actually making financial gains. But
Yes.
then, so when you actually a threat to this advantage, then basically, yeah, you know what? It doesn't work. It doesn't
Yeah.
work that.
I completely agree with
Yeah. So same thing. I'm not actually. I actually faced this with a competitor, not a business partner. So business partner wise, you know what? Try because they are the ones that actually believe with you in the beginning, and then they are the one that actually will walk with you to the end. So basically, what happened is that try to be as gentlemanly as possible with them. Try to do the right thing, of course.
you. Yes.
And then it's not about moral. It's about I scratch your back, you scratch my back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a very powerful thing. Yeah, just remember this: people bear grudges.
Thank you. Next question is yours. So, from the enormous pile of tiger questions we have, we're going to find the most tough one.
I don't think these are
answer.
tough ones now because we've done the tough ones. But
Right.
I think the pussy questions might end up being tough ones because of our state of mind.
Well,
We're feeling confident, bullish.
Yeah.
We're feeling bullish.
I just want to make a remark. I mean, I watched the show
Mm.
on YouTube and I thought, what's the point of this?
Yeah.
Why is it so long? I just want to say one thing, I mean, with Troy and with Aaron, we're complete strangers. And this process brings you very close. I mean, I find it amazing, the things we discuss and the stories I hear from the both of you. I find it amazing. I mean, it really pulls me in. So,
I mean, you
Yeah.
can really understand a person from the way they answers the questions.
and I think maybe go back a little bit. We had a question this afternoon. We recorded a show about podcasting. Why do we do podcasting? But the setting that we create for providing, content online, of course, this is nice for people watching this. But I mean, for me, this is a really, really nice experience. So, Graham, all the props to you, man. I mean, this is really, really nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm putting on I'm just providing the venue. I'm
Absolutely.
not making the party.
I'll be back.
We'll be
Singapore, right?
back. Yeah, exactly. You know where we are.
You always you always say that, you know what, I keep coming back, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, I mean,
well, there you go. They all do.
yeah. It's the connections. You
Absolutely.
actually, you talk to people, you actually exchange ideas, and then you exchange your beliefs, your very core, and that's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, and not only that. I think in this kind of setting,
Yeah.
since this is a different conversation than if we would sit down, the two of us or the four of us, because then everybody would be talking and we would be
Yeah.
interacting. Now we're listening. We're really listening to somebody sharing a story or an opinion, which I think is really, really powerful. I think we're creating really intimate
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
So-
In a safe space as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the
Soundproof.
poker face and Skype.
There you go. Did we talk about that earlier?
Oh,
Was that off air?
off air?
That's a different.
Come on, Aaron. Next one.
Okay, so this is asked by Troy.
Okay.
Troy asks, "What do you do for the first 15 minutes of your work?"
Your work day, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Your work day. So what do you do on the first 15 minutes of your work day?
Okay, for me, I mean, there are people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't check your emails
Yeah.
in the morning," but for me, I do check my emails.
So you obviously don't listen to the advice.
Yeah, I mean, I got to know what I'm landing. If it's gonna be a sort of some bullshit email, then okay, I know I can just leave it out. But if there's something important or something urgent, I attend to it right away, get it off my mind, and then I can go ahead with the rest of my day. So I think that was what I do. So what about you, Graham?
I for first 15 minutes of the day, I send Troy emails. Now I know why he doesn't respond. No, I don't do that. I like to. Well, in my ideal world, I sit down and I take a bit of paper and a pen and I write down what I want to achieve today. In my ideal world, but I don't do that a lot these days. that's my ideal day, where I don't check my emails. I think I walk to work 20 minutes. I listen to music, and walking to work, I think, is like the best use of that first sort of 20 minutes of the day. Yeah, and then actually, Barrett and I sit. That's the first 15 minutes, isn't it? We sit before the day gets started, and we work out what we're going to do. I think you've got to plan, haven't you, rather than react. That's why I don't check emails. You've got to plan rather than react to what other people want. Because I guarantee if I open my email now, there's lots of people who want stuff, like whether it's like international school fees.
There's a very good saying, right? That your email inbox is the collection of everybody else's agenda.
Yeah, that's so right.
Wow.
It's so true.
Yeah. So
It's not. There's nothing in there that's saying that I want to do that.
it's
There's,
not your
there's nobody in
agenda.
there like sending me an email saying, "Right, Graham, we're going to go and cycle from Lhasa to Kathmandu now," which is what I really want to do. It's just people saying, "Like, I want this."
But I believe in the fact that getting the easy task, get it out cleared up fast first,
Yeah.
and then the harder task, you spend more time thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my take on it. So that's why I clear the emails as quickly as I can.
Yeah.
Right,
Well, I'm different to you though. I think like my start is like to work out what tasks are easy and what tasks are hard, and then plan it out.
Can we hear the answer from everybody? I would be curious what
Yeah,
the
yeah,
others say.
exactly. I was actually going to.
Yeah,
I'm going to
okay.
slap you with that question
All
first.
right, okay. So, I mean, the best days I've had is like similar to Graham. I've learned a productivity method from Brendan Bouchard, and he has a 1-day productivity sheet that you write down every day. Very simply, what it means is on the top of the page you outline your 3 or 4 tasks that are the 3 or 4 projects that are most obvious in your life. Could be anything. And under those projects, you write down what are the main things that need to be achieved to move that forward. And you rewrite it every day. So if things stay on there, you rewrite them every day. So that you outline your main tasks. You outline what are the main things to move those projects forward. Then the next step is, and this is the really powerful one. You create 2 columns on reach out and waiting for. So you write down who do I need to reach out to move something forward, and who am I waiting on to get something accomplished. And then underneath that, you basically write down your to-do list. Now, your task then is to first deal with the reaching out and the waiting for list. So the first thing you do is you go and pick up the phone, or you get on WhatsApp, whatever. You chase those things that you need to reach out for, or you are waiting for, before you start working on whatever you need to do for that day. So my best days are usually like that.
And how many of those days do you actually have?
I would say half of them.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
half of your days are like that?
Probably, yeah.
That's pretty disciplined.
Like probably half of them, yeah.
Yeah. Impressive.
So I really like that. I mean, if I do that, I might have looked at my email and my messages, but then I would put that away. And before I go real to work, I would go and write this down, and that's really productive. Yeah. So that's
So about Aaron?
It sounds like the same process my girlfriend actually does. So she actually really wakes up in the morning and she decides, who she's supposed to chase after, who she's supposed to actually contact to get things progressed, right? Yeah. For me,
She's a better entrepreneur than you.
for sure.
She should be on the show.
Oh yeah, she should. Actually, I tried to convince her to come, and then she goes like, "Yeah, no."
Graham, you know her. Let's call her.
In fact, there we go. She's on the line now. Is this true?
Oh yeah, I have one more question. So, there are like 2 types of entrepreneurs, basically type A and type B. Which one are you?
Okay, can you explain type A?
So type A are those who focuses more on the business. So they will really, really care about the business, and they will wake up really early and to work things out. So type B, they are more of let's say relationship oriented.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's type A and type B entrepreneur, is it? Is it personality types?
Yeah, it's sort of a personality type sort of thing.
How can you have? I don't see them as different.
Basically, it's basically how you handle things.
Yeah.
So for type A, they are really, really into the business sort of things, and they don't really sort of care about the family
No.
Micromanage.
Yeah, and they tend to, let's say, do things solo and work things out.
Hmm.
Yeah, but for type B, it's very different. They tend to have a different set of priorities. Yeah.
It sounds like a micromanager, and versus like a person who actually takes things very personally, and then versus like another person that actually goes like, yeah, you know what, they actually have everything organized. Oh no, wait. The other type B is actually the one that is actually more into connections, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
networking. So the happy-go-lucky.
Mm.
Yeah. So you're talking about a person who micromanage, takes everything seriously, and then
Yeah.
versus person who actually, you know what, relax, enjoy the
Yeah,
path.
sort of enjoy
Right.
the ride.
Yeah, enjoy the ride.
So which one are you?
I think we'd all claim to be the latter, but we all are the
Hey.
first. I don't know. I mean, I maybe on the surface, people are like that. They look like they're in control,
Mhm.
but I believe that every entrepreneur masks, or every person masks a crisis inside.
Oh yeah.
Every day I live on the edge. Absolutely every day.
Maybe another perspective of this, I think, is, and that's Graham and I wrote a book about this, but I think we both value our time above anything else, right? So the decision on whether or not to do something or to endeavor on something or to be somewhere or, being here, the main reason for this is, do I enjoy this? Is this adding spark to my life? And a lot of doing a business is that as well, right? Is what I'm doing, is that putting me on fire? Am I enjoying
Yeah.
it? Now I would never go and do something I don't enjoy. I mean, unless I'm at, rock bottom and I got to go and make ends meet. Obviously, I will have to find out the solution, but I have got the privilege, I think, in life now to choose where I spend my energy. But spending my time on stuff that energizes me, that's the key criteria, I think. And that also means I'm not willing to work 100 hours a week. I mean, it's always, a lot of these entrepreneurs say, I'm all out, 100 hours in, grinding, working hard,
Yeah.
pushing. Yeah, at some points in life, you might do that, but at some points in life, you might actually enjoy that. And then it's fine. But if you do it because you have to make it work, that's not enjoyable. Nobody can tell me that working that hard is enjoyable, except maybe, Gary Vaynerchuk. But,
Yeah.
Right.
and,
But is he enjoying himself? He doesn't smile much.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to be the judge of that, but I can,
exactly.
I can imagine, that he really enjoys his life, the way he lives his life.
Yeah.
That's important. I mean, if you are happy spending your time on these kind of things, fine. But I don't want to, personally.
It's choice.
Choice. Yeah, time is very valuable. We have very little time left. We're lucky to come on Earth as a human being and not as an ant, as Gary Vaynerchuk always says, or a tree, right? But we should really, really, really value the fact that we have time and use it as good as we can.
Pause.
Pause.
There we go. I mean, think about that. I want to. Can we? I think these
I
are
dodged a bullet.
deep questions. There's a bullet coming. There's a bullet coming, folks.
Oh,
We have a tough question coming up. A really tough one. We've got one question here, and we've got a really tough question which was fielded by Barrett. How do we want to do this? Do we want to get the really tough question up, or we'll do this one first? Oh, this is the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, first
We've lost track. Who was asked this question? Who
I
has
asked
So
the
you asked the
question.
question. So Erik,
All right.
if you want, we have. Should we say no? Let's do the yellow one. Let's do the notepad one because that's the tough one. But that was lost. We went and printed that out, but we didn't. We got lost in the pile somewhere.
Dun, dun.
So whoever got awarded the answer, Erik, did you ask the? Sorry, Erik.
I've completely lost track.
We've
Yeah.
lost track
I
of time.
asked the question, so basically,
Aaron
yes,
asked the
Eric.
question. Erik.
Eric gets the answer.
All right.
Ask
There
the
you
next
go.
one, yeah.
It's a follow-on, really, but you get to ask it.
I get to ask this question.
Yeah.
Troy, this one's for you. Would you sacrifice family time to run your business? The reason why this is a great one for Troy, I think, because probably this is really, you have to put yourself in a situation 10 years from now, I think.
Yeah.
No kids. No kids yet.
Well, none that we know of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You
but
might
it's
have a
good to
few.
think about this because it's always easy to answer yes or no, right? But put yourself 10 years from now. You're let's say you're married Let's say you
Okay.
have a child, very young child, and you're the CEO of a super successful cryptocurrency startup. You know, you've got $10 million in the bank, venture capital. You've got 20, 30 people working on, you know, the next cutting edge app on cryptocurrency. So here we are. That's the setting for you. Would you then, in that situation, sacrifice family time for going building this business?
I'm going to add, your kid is actually asking you to actually show up to her school.
that
for
emotional
recital.
leverage. Come on.
School recital.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I would say no, because I mean business can be built, okay, but the relationship that you have lost with your kid cannot be sort of replaced. And I recently watched a video about actually the 7 years of your child's life is actually on programming. It's sort of a program on how your child behaves.
The first 7 years, you mean?
Yeah, the first 7 years. So if I wasn't there for the kid for the first 7 years, the kid might sort of develop in sort of different ways.
Right.
So for me, that family time would be great for the first 7 years. After that, I can, sort of, focus on the business.
That's
Seven-
amazing. I mean,
Seven
I'm
years.
absolutely amazed. You know, the answers that you're giving
Yeah,
at your age, I think you're very mature for your age. I think, you know, very well thought of. So I like the answer. So you get ask the next question.
Wow.
Go for it.
No messing around. No challenge there.
Because-
No challenge. No.
Because from the video, the first is about the rich people will keep getting rich, and the
Right.
poor people will keep getting poor,
Right.
and that's when the programming of the kid comes.
Yes.
So if the poor people were to get the programming of, hey, you're not gonna do well. Hey, you're forever gonna be like this, and the kid is forever is programmed to do that. They're just gonna look themselves down, and then
I'm going to actually just contradict you for the sake of contradiction.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it's all about here.
So
yeah.
when you're, let's say for instance you're a businessman and then you're a big CEO of like a we're not talking about multi-millions now, we're talking about multi-billion dollars company.
Right.
Right, and then they say that they're psychologically wise, right? They're actually profiled as the same as a psychopath. So they only believe in pros and cons, don't believe in right and wrongs. So now, what happened is that, you know, and then they say that people who are actually very successful, of course, unless of course they're serial killers.
Where are we going with this one, Aaron?
All right, it's actually pre-programmed. This is the pre-programming part. So you know, they say the first 7 years when you actually, you know, how you actually teach your kid is how it's going to be when they grow up.
Yeah.
So if you are you going to I mean like you say you're going to have family time, then basically you're going to have a nurturing environment. You're going to have like you're going to be there when he or she actually expects it. So yeah, he or she, your child, is going to be very protected, very sheltered, very loved, and no longer being taught the path of a psychopath.
Where
know.
did the psychopath come in?
Not the CEO. They this is the article where they always say they say CEOs are keen to psychopaths. If they were actually not making so much money, they would have been serial
What the hell
killers.
are you going about? Okay, so it's like the last resort of a serial killer. Right?
Yeah, but okay, now
If this doesn't work out, I'm going to go murder somebody.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but you know, like the idea, I mean, is actually instilled. If you are actually going to provide so much shelter, so much love, are you protecting them too much
Yeah.
from competition? So like in the future,
competition for your time.
yeah, like so you are actually exchanging your time to teach them not to compete, because what happens is you are now actually telling them, you know what, you're always safe. I'm always here to actually protect you.
Yeah.
You will always be there.
Then
for them.
you have 2 kids, so they have to fight for your attention.
Oh
even.
wow.
well,
Or 3 or 4.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean, if given that you're giving time to the kid, but your way of teaching can be really different.
Okay.
So you gotta teach your kid to actually pick themselves up if things don't go well.
Yeah.
And on a recent video that I saw about how the Japanese kids are really different from the Westerns, because at a young age, have a Japanese kid, they are really going on being independent, going on trains.
Oh,
on
you're
their,
talking about the keyless child.
on their way to school.
Right.
So I guess giving time and the way of teaching can be really different.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know what? Like, for instance, if I were to actually not be there to protect them, to shelter them, or to teach them, even to supervise them, then they will actually figure out things on their own, right?
Yeah.
Which is actually the idea of independent thoughts, as well as the what is called fail and learn process. Fall down and pick up yourself. Now, when you're there all the time, or as
Well,
much,
it's a
as you
sliding
can,
scale, isn't it? There's a happy balance. You can't just sort of say, right, kids, I'm going to work. You have to learn how to feed yourself.
Well, I mean, the problem with a question like this, right? You can only it is only interesting on the critical end.
Yeah, exactly.
It is no
well,
longer
there's a follow-on
interesting,
question.
yeah.
I think it was quite interesting. Barrett wanted to ask this. Let's flash up that following question because it gets even tougher, right? So, who wants to ask this? Aaron, you asked this question because you go on,
Well,
for it.
For the sake of entertainment, I would have to,
It's purely entertainment. We're here.
yeah. So I have to ask you that.
Edutainment, I should say. Education
Educate.
and entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to ask Graham that. Okay, could you go back to the question? I think I drink too much. Would you have a child or build a startup career?
Well, I have a child and a startup, so
You're screwed.
yeah, I have my cake and I eat it. But I think I had children quite late, and because I had a startup back then, and yeah, I don't think it's difficult to do both. I know people have done both, but I think it's hard. A startup is like a child in a way. But I think as you sort of look back on it, I don't know. I mean, you know, it's a tough question. I don't think they're either. In reality, they're not either either. It's not like you have to have one or the other. But I think it makes more sense to say, look, where would you put your time? I think it's better, you know, to build a business, get financially secure, and then have children rather than, you know, like I can see the regret would be, for example, to have children and then not be able to build a business and take risk and then regret that later on. I can see that. So it's kind of timing, really. I think the ultimate would be to do it that way. Make your money, get financially more secure, have your kids.
Yeah, but that's when you are saying it, you're actually saying it out of experience right now.
Yeah.
So what happens if let's say for instance you are like what Troy actually says, you're like a millennial kid. Now all of a sudden it's YOLO. You only get to live once.
Well,
And then
I
you-
was like that as a kid, I'm sure.
Yeah, but you want now you want everything. Let's just change the whole entire scenario. You want everything now. You want to actually be able to actually have everything, and then everything is actually exactly. So everything is always awesome, right? So
Yeah.
so now it comes down to, you know what? How are you going to find a balance between having a business and having a kid at the same time?
Yeah. Well, then I start a YouTube business and make my kid productive from day one, like producing YouTube videos. And actually, here's an interesting thing. I slightly digress, but my son had about $150 of birthday money and Christmas money and all that saved up, and he wanted to buy a monitor which cost $300. And he kept coming to me and said, "Look, I want to buy this monitor for my gaming." He's a big into gaming, and he had this big monitor. I'm $150 short. What do I do? And I just said, I waited for him to come back, and he said, "Look, how much would you pay me if I went onto your YouTube and I started improving the SEO of your YouTube?" He knew what SEO is because he has a YouTube channel. So he worked out a deal. So in fact, I'd pay him $10 an hour. So he had to work for me for 15 hours to pay for the excess to buy his monitor. So to your point about YouTube, startup versus child, I think they're not mutually exclusive. You can actually put them together. So you have a child that can work for you and produce.
That's the beauty of our hypothetical questions, right?
Yeah.
We now make it mutually exclusive.
It's a win-win situation. Exactly. But I'm not sure. I mean, for the first sort of 12 years of their life, they're pretty unproductive when it comes to business, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Erik, you've had plenty children and businesses.
Yeah.
Answer.
This is really a tough one, I think. I mean, again, it's not an either or question for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the older I get, the more I realize that time is the deciding factor. Where do you spend your time? What do you enjoy doing? What do you, what what brings joy, love, value to your life. If that is building a business, then spend your time on that. But I think, you can never replace the experience of having a child versus building, 100,000 different businesses. I think it's so different emotionally, and it's so different learning-wise. I mean, I think, honestly, my wife might dispute this, but I think I've become
Wait, she's on the line now.
See,
be careful what you say.
Small step out. I've told Graham, you got to have a call-in feature in the studio,
exactly.
and you got to get it sorted.
They have
quickly
to be here to defend themselves.
Absolutely.
Eric,
My wife might dispute this, but I think I've become a better person because I've had children.
Absolutely.
Not only for the fact that I see life in a different way, and I put things in perspective more, and not worry about things too much. You can get if you're a hardcore entrepreneur and a hardcore startup builder and a venture capital guy or whatever it is, right? You can get really into this, business, everything.
Eric, can I ask you a tough question? Have you become a better person as a result of becoming an entrepreneur? And also how? Okay, let me double.
Why do I get all the tough questions over here?
because you're a straight talker. So can you? How have you become better and how have you become worse as an entrepreneur? So, as worse first, please, as an entrepreneur, how has it sort of exaggerated your worst traits, and how has it made you a better person?
Having children, you mean?
No, not about children. Let's put them aside. About entrepreneur.
I see. Okay. Well, I think it has made. I became an entrepreneur by accident.
Yeah. And a father?
By planning.
All right, now we have it.
This is a long story, but I mean, the fact that I became an entrepreneur was really an accident. I had an Indonesian business partner where I started my first company with, but I started this company while I was in a job. And I got basically fired for starting this company on the side. So I became an entrepreneur by accident, right? So it was not really by choice. But I think as a person, what it has taught me is to, really be. It has taught me to be self-sufficient, and it has taught me to, not rely on somebody else to pay me a paycheck to make a living. I think that's
Does
really
it make
what
you better
that's what it has made me better. Has being an entrepreneur made me worse? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I might have become.
It's not all good.
Well, running a company or being an entrepreneur is not all good.
Yeah,
but I don't.
in
I don't
terms
think,
of how it's emphasized, because it sort of emphasizes and reinforces certain behaviors, right?
Yeah, but I think versus the option of which could have easily happened to me being an employee or an expat employee in a company somewhere making a lot of money, which is what my situation was before I got fired. That would have not made me the person I am today. I think, especially the failures and the hardship and the problems that I've been facing in the businesses I've had with various business partners. I mean, has shaped me, I think, and I wouldn't have missed that. I mean, life is it's a fun journey, and then if it's all smooth, what's going to be on your eulogy or what's going to be on your grave,
Yeah.
If it's all easy and
not fear, apparently.
You've worked for the government for 40 years. I mean, people choose to do that. It's just that it's just so fucking boring. Why would you do that?
No, I'm going to actually make it revise the question a little bit, and then I'm going to actually
this is like I'm coming here for fun, guys. You're putting me on the spot.
No, wait. It's fun for us.
I'm going to revise the question, and I'm going to
Marcus,
actually
I'm never coming
redirect
back
the
to
question to somebody else. Actually, because what happens is we are all about the extreme ends because it's about entertainment, right? Yeah. So what happened is that we asked Graham. We have asked this question to Erik. And then it's about and both of you have one thing in common. You have children. You are married.
Yes.
Now we have to actually redirect this question to Troy.
Yeah.
You have not married.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not married. You have no kids that you on and we all know of. So we're going to actually ask you, but I'm going to revise this question. So let's say, for instance, out of some supernatural means, right? The devil actually came up to you and then go like, yeah, you can only choose.
Dressed in red.
Yeah, dressed in red. Okay, and then they're going to ask you. He's going to ask you this question. He or she or it. Okay. Sorry, we have to be gender neutral now. So it's going to ask you this question. Okay. You only have one choice. You can either have a very wonderful marriage and have children, or you can actually focus everything on your business. So you only choose one or the other. Which one would you choose?
Silence.
Dun, dun, dun.
The first one,
Is what?
Business?
the marriage one.
You want to have You want to be married? You have kids.
I mean, because I don't think that can come like what 4 or 5 times, but a business idea also can come in like.
Yeah, but you must really understand that you are actually talking to about a supernatural being that actually governs your life. So it's either you actually have a very successful marriage and family, or you have a very successful business. You can either have one or the other, not both at the same time.
Remember, it's a supernatural being. in
Yeah,
a red
exactly.
Red polo shirt. Don't fuck with him.
With the Ferrari logo.
Okay, if it's a supernatural being, then I'll choose the latter. I'll do a business.
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
because for me, I would sometimes rather spend time alone. Yeah, and I think it's not necessary that you must have a partner in life, but to live sort of being contented and being happy with what you have would be better
Dan,
than having to tolerate shit.
what? Tolerate family?
Wow.
Sometimes family can be just toxic, Your family member can be just toxic.
Anybody can be toxic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody can be toxic.
Man, that was deep.
Yeah, so sometimes even if your family members could be toxic, you gotta cut them out. Yeah, it would the negativity would just affect you.
Should we do that? You're fired. Role play again.
Let's not go to that. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, that's tough, huh? That was a really tough question.
This is actually the reason why I actually revised the question, right? And then, of course, make it so exclusive is because what happened is the top successful people in life, they always tell you, what? They have a very successful woman behind their back.
Yeah, do you think so? I mean, look at
Look at Trump.
Trump. Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's not a good relationship, is it? And then you got Elon Musk. And what's Elon Musk's situation? He's divorced, isn't he?
Yeah, but
But then again, we shouldn't take the most visual entrepreneurs and take their example as the law, right, or the ultimate truth.
But those are not really successful. They have actually more successful people than them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they're not out there self-promoting, are they?
And yeah, they are not out there. Well, they are technically speaking after they pass away, but they are actually promoting. But they always tell you the same thing. They always say that they have actually a very strong woman behind their back. A very strong woman behind their back. That's what's happening.
Or strong man, because it could also be a woman.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well,
A strong
So-
partner.
strong partner behind. That's actually There's actually in a very supporting role at the back.
I think we've got one last question for this evening. Bit of fun. Who's asking?
I'm hungry.
Well, this is a good
Yeah.
one. So I mean, it goes back down to I guess Troy. Troy gets it.
Troy gets it. Maybe you could ask everybody this tonight.
Okay.
The last question of the evening, because this has been the grind. This is all about how we roll in the world of entrepreneurship. Hopefully, this was quite insightful tonight. We went around many levels of answers tonight: emotion, logic, the dark side, the light.
All right. So this goes out to everyone, even if you're streaming in live. You can put it out on our comments, or you can just message us. So the question is, what is the best job title you have seen? And the second part would be, what is the most bullshitting one? Here you go. Shoot it.
I think we did this before, right?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, but we didn't give it full prominence. I think it's a great question. So, all right, Troy, you have to kind of help everybody out. Who's going to ask the question first?
Who are you going to ask the question first?
Let's do it with Eric.
Yeah, the best and the worst job title.
Yeah, I don't have a really catchy answer to this one, but I'm quite allergic to the job title founder and CEO.
Oh, mate. That's on my
That's
on
like-
my LinkedIn profile.
Technically speaking, that is
So,
yeah.
and I'll tell you why. Because, I mean, the reason why I think I'm quite allergic to that job title is that, CEO is like, I think about Enron and about
Yeah.
big companies, right? Like CEO is like the ultimate not startup kind of role.
Yeah.
And then if somebody puts founder and CEO, I go always like, I don't know. I mean, this is, for me, this is a bit of a question that I have a bit of a struggle with. I mean, I don't really have
What
a
about
strong...
give it?
I don't really have
What's
a
the
strong-
happy
strong-
happy upside of that? What's the best one you've seen? Have you seen one that's made you thought, oh, that's nice?
No.
I mean, what about
Never.
what
You
about
never
being a
looked at a
founder but
business-
not
You know
a
what?
CEO?
I never looked at a business card and thought, oh, that's a great. You just thought, no, bullshit, no.
I will tell you honestly, I think I've removed job title
Yeah.
from my business cards for
Absolutely.
years
Same.
already.
I'll high five you. Remember?
Yeah, I mean, and even now, sometimes I need to defend what I do, and very often I say I do nothing, and then people go, "What?"
It's quite accurate.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Oh yeah.
I just turn up to podcasts.
I get business class tickets to fly to Singapore, stay in a 5-star hotel, and get served very nice wine by Graham to come and talk here. So,
Yeah, it's nothing.
Oh.
At the end of the day, it's
no,
nothing.
I mean, I wouldn't add a lot of value to answering this question, but I think people that overstate their jobs in whatever job title is, especially in startups where they try to, really blow up their job. I think you're just a struggler, right? You're trying to get a business to work. Just say that.
Yeah, I'm a chief struggler.
Yeah, chief struggler or whatever. But I don't have a witty answer to this one, so I'll pass it on to the forum for another answer. So.
It's a good attempt.
I'm going to take this actually. It's
Cool.
like the fool.
The full.
What the eulogy, the word that you're not supposed to actually use.
Chief fool.
Chief fool, exactly. So the I don't know. It's like Lincoln actually. When you actually say you don't like to see founder and CEO at the same time, right?
Wait, what's on your LinkedIn profile? Aaron?
My LinkedIn profile is actually founder and
CEO.
CTO, not CEO but CTO.
Well, now that Eric's answered it, I'm going to have a look at what's on his. Oh, it just says property investor, entrepreneur, author, podcast host,
Ooh,
See, there you go. I don't bullshit around. I say what I do, right?
and CEO.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't say that.
CEO of EricTenhaver.com.
It has never said that.
Or Aaron, go on.
yeah. So this. I don't know because when it's like so many masks, right? There's so many faces that we actually have. Like we have the poker face, the business face, right? And then we have the up close and personal face. So it's really difficult. And I think LinkedIn is actually the same thing, right? When you actually go to LinkedIn and you go like, yeah, what do you actually want to put over there as a job title? I think founder is fine, actually. I think founder is fine.
I agree.
Okay.
Better than CEO.
But yeah, well,
Better,
definitely.
much better. Yeah.
Well, I don't like that. I don't like to actually hear. I don't like to see actually the one that says president of a company or CEO of a company.
That's old school, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like very strong. Like you have an expectation. You know that you are running like a company of at least 100 employees. Then you use CEO. And then, but when you're actually running a company of, let's say, for instance, of 5 or 3, yeah, exactly 3
Or one.
or 1, and then basically you got
President. Still the president.
CEO and president. I'm still the president.
Chairman.
Chairman, yeah.
But there's a need to have that sort of strong job title to impress people, isn't it?
Yes, you have a
Unfortunately.
need. Yeah, you have a need to actually like, but you don't have to lie.
Right, but it's kind of like how you dress in business, isn't it? It's
Yes,
like, I think
yes,
when you
yes.
get comfortable just rocking up in a pair of, it's like like
Shorts and blue t-shirt.
Yeah, no, like I think it's cool because it's sort of like I was like always into like power dressing and wearing like tailored suits and stuff. But I feel now that I wear a t-shirt, it's like, oh, this guy is obviously comfortable that he doesn't give a shit about what people think of him.
Well-
And now, like there's nothing on his business card. He doesn't even have business cards.
Well,
Right? So
Well, I'm going to hope that somebody actually doesn't watch this podcast.
no worry, no.
Oh, that's too late.
the co-founder of Facebook in Singapore.
Sabarin.
Yeah, Soren. So I'm actually hoping that he doesn't watch this podcast. Maybe he's watching, but
Well, if you are, please comment in the comment box.
yeah. So this is I think this is what happened. I think I met him once, and on a very big event, and I believe that he was actually there with his wife at that time. and
What
he
did
was
you say to him?
yeah, well that's not good actually. So he was actually wearing t-shirt, flip flops, and
Yeah, that's
shorts.
cool, man.
Yeah,
It's a
and
t-shirt.
a backpack.
You
And a
don't
backpack.
have to impress. Like they're
Yeah.
beyond it. It's almost like they're impressing by not impressing.
I mean, if you know your shit, then
Yeah.
what do you have to freaking
Exactly.
impress?
Yeah, but I mean I'm not so sure whether that is actually him.
Well, you didn't know it was him, just a guy.
Well, but he looks exactly like the guy is in the photographs.
It was the guy for all the listeners. It was the same.
It was definitely him.
Yeah.
Aaron is trying to dodge the
dodged the
responsibility.
bullets.
Well, yeah, because I wasn't very polite at that time.
All right. So can I have a go at the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is the best job title you have seen?
Yeah.
And what is the most bullshitting one?
Best job title is no job title. We've established that because the fact that when people ask you, I think my sort of dream was like, I don't know if I've achieved it yet. It's like when you go to a networking event and somebody asks you like, "What do you do?" I say, "I'm unemployed. I don't do anything." And like people look at you like those snide looks, but actually, what they don't know is that you're not doing anything because you don't want to do anything right now. You're just kind of having a sabbatical. That'd be awesome. But I don't have to justify myself to anybody here. So, but I thought one of the best job titles ever was, you got to go back a few years, like when Jerry Yang, Yahoo, his job title was Chief Yahoo. I thought that was cool. It
That's
was like,
amazing,
yeah,
yeah.
it was the first time I ever saw somebody play with their job title. Up until that point, it was all CEO, president, chairman, all that nonsense. But he was just like Chief Yahoo. I thought it was quite nice. I like Tony Hsieh Zappo as Chief Happiness Officer.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Right.
that sounds good.
It can easily be a bit wank, like because I think people can corrupt that and say, "Well, I'm the Chief Happiness Officer."
I mean, could have been customer relations and
Yeah, but he's an awesome dude. I really like him. He's like a really good role model. So to the point about the biggest pile of shit as a job title, there's plenty of answers for that, isn't it? I don't know. What is the biggest pile of shit as a job title? I don't want to disrespect anybody out there. Just the job titles.
Mm.
Silly job titles.
You
Chiefs.
just made me think. I think what I'm going to put on there, I'm going to remove everything that's there and just put lifestyle entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, yes, seriously, because I think that has those are the two words that mean the most to me, right? I love building businesses or making money in business, but before that comes the lifestyle I have.
Yeah.
And unless I have to give it up, that would be my first priority. You know, what lifestyle do I have in this life?
But your job title becomes a conversation starter.
And then it becomes a conversation,
Yeah,
right?
it's like,
and
"Ooh, what's
nothing
that?"
else, right?
It should.
Yeah, so I seriously, I think I'm going to do that. That's going to be my new job title. So.
So if somebody says to you, like, if your job title is like, I'm a UX designer, it's like,
Right.
you can imagine people just like,
Mm-hmm.
But lifestyle entrepreneur is like, ooh.
There's actually two titles.
What's the
actually.
and ooh about it? It's like, is this positive or negative? I don't know.
Exactly.
Totally.
I'm not too sure. You're winding me up after 2 hours now.
No, totally. It's like, your job title becomes a conversation starter. It's like, it's like the title of a book, isn't it? It creates like, oh, I've got to find out more about this.
Ah.
I bumped into in Canada when I was actually in school actually. So what happened is I bumped into
You were in school?
Yeah, I was. So I bumped into the boss, the owner of a chain of restaurants and bar restaurants. I'm sorry. So what happened is that he handed me a card, and then on the card he goes like when he handed me the card he goes like, yeah, if you need if you're coming to this place, you guys are awesome. If you guys are coming over to this place, we'll reserve a table for you, right? So he goes like, yeah, if you have, so if you want to reserve a table, and then just basically give me a call. So on the company card itself, it actually says head dishwasher.
That's awesome. Good for him.
Head dishwasher.
I like that.
Yeah, so I mean, owner of a chain of restaurants, right? So bar restaurants. So basically, I mean, and then for a student, and then basically go like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go to a bar and I want to have my table, right?
Yeah. But that's a bit of confidence, isn't it? I think that, what was the movie Pulp Fiction when he goes, when they held up the diner and he said they took everybody's wallets, didn't they? And they put them in a bag and he says, give me my wallet back. He goes, which one's your wallet? He goes, it's the one in there that says "bad motherfucker" on my wallet. He thinks he's joking, and he pulls it out, and it says on it, "bad motherfucker." That's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's a good job title.
Yeah, but it is striking. It is really striking. But the other one, of course, the other job title, actually, I think it is actually because this question was actually asked before, right? So Neville actually said this was like. Which title that he doesn't like the most, right? He goes like, what's that?
Style entrepreneur.
No, not entrepreneur. Coach, lifestyle coach. Yeah, exactly.
Life coach.
Life coach. Yeah, it goes like it's so ambiguous, right?
Yeah, you and 500,000 others, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's just Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah, Troy, do you want to have a go answering the question? Do you have an answer?
Best job title, worst job title.
Best jobs you've seen in your long, illustrious career as an entrepreneur.
Best job title.
Best. He's got an awesome job title out there. I think if somebody just doesn't give a shit, it's like, this is, it even says like, you've got to get to a stage where you don't have a job title, and that's pretty awesome, isn't it?
What? Sort of like, what? I'm going to have like 2 years of military service.
Yeah. But he's just beginning. But, I think David Attenborough, do you know David Attenborough?
Uh-huh.
He does all the, he's like 93 or something, isn't he?
Yeah.
But what an awesome life he's lived. What's on his business card? There's nothing. It's just David Attenborough. It's like, fuck you. I'm David Attenborough. I've spent like 80 years of my life like looking at birds of paradise, monkeys, gorillas.
So look at the grasshopper over there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's like he doesn't have to prove himself. It's not like I'm a National Geographic documentary, whatever, dude. Just like, this is what I am.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I think with like, especially business cards is, I've got so many different roles. So what do I give somebody? Right? I mean, I'm at the point also where I just give it, I should give them a card with my name on it.
Do you still have a card?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it should, in this day and age, it should come to the point is like, just Google Erik ten Haven, you'll find me, right? I mean, that should be my answer, saying, I don't have any, find me.
Well, why we, I don't carry cards.
You don't?
No. And the reason why is like, if I'm talking to somebody,
right?
Like we go to a networking event, have you got a card? Have you got a card? Whatever. But if I'm talking to somebody, and I like that person, and we like each other, we want to get on, they don't need my card. I've got the details. But if it's sort of very superficial, we're just exchanging cards, it's like, then what's the point? So
but you would have to remember the names then, right?
Well, I mean, if I'm talking to them, hopefully I do.
Yeah, if you like him enough, you're gonna remember his
Yeah, exactly. So it's
like
sort
him or her.
Wait a minute, are we talking about male or female?
like
either.
Both?
We
Okay.
go always
Yeah.
in this world. But yeah, no,
Right.
totally. Yeah, no, I just think I don't like cards.
I mean, ultimately, after you get a card, you would add them on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but like I do it there and then. If I like them, I'll add them on LinkedIn whilst we're talking. So, what's your
Yeah.
name? And like, are you on LinkedIn? Are we connected? Oh, you know so and so. You know Troy. I'll add you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's very good because the cards that I give out now, usually for my UK property business, and I always have this conversation. Yeah, here's my card. It's for my UK business. I don't
Yeah.
have a business. I mean, I have to explain it. I might as well not give them anything
Exactly.
Yeah.
and say, look, who are you? Let me just enter your name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing as when I go to China, right? And then basically when you're meeting up with suppliers or
Yeah.
like vendors or like contractors, and then you go like, yeah, do you have a China entity and then a local number that we can call? And you're passing them like a card that's actually going like Singapore, and
Right.
like it makes no sense. It kind
Yeah.
of like makes no sense.
Then you just say, look, I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur. Don't carry cards.
Yeah.
You got a problem with that?
Lifestyle coach, but if you want me to coach you, you have to call me in my country.
Oh man, we are at the physical limit of our time here on the grind tonight. We've done 2.5 hours. How about that? Flew by.
Wow.
It didn't fly by, but it was super enjoyable. I
Yeah.
really liked it.
yeah.
Yeah, so
I think this is the longest one. Yeah.
the longest one.
That's
yeah.
because I was here.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't get to the point.
And
Eric,
is it
so-
because I'm
So
I'm here
Graham,
as
this
well?
is the investment you get from buying me business class tickets, right? You know, you
I
get
know
a
what you're
2.5.
saying, but
Five-star
don't-
hotel.
No, I don't want you putting it out there because then people get expectations that they expect a business class.
I'm just screwing around. I didn't.
Yeah,
I
look-
paid for my own flights, and I sleep in a pod. So.
Exactly. And
What?
but I did buy you lunch at Hua Chong for
Oh wow, that was 5-star lunch.
$3.50. Come on.
Hey, actually, watching the faculty is actually really nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Oh,
And worse
yeah.
than that, I had Indonesian food in Singapore. It's like,
Yeah.
what the
Serious?
hell? Yeah.
But
No, no.
come on, Indonesian prices. So what are you complaining?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love being here, Graham. No
There you go.
problem.
And it's great to have you here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was a good session tonight. And thank you to Aaron, obviously, for being a repeat grinder and, doing your bit, bringing in the wine as well. Love that, as well as
Thanks
all
for
the
the
other
wine, Aaron.
merchandise. Thank you to Troy for your fast grind.
Yeah.
First, last? Do you think you'll be back for another one some point?
Yeah.
You got another month.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got one more. Maybe we should do one
One
more.
more.
Yeah, maybe like if you're grind number 2, you got a month to think up good questions,
Oh yeah.
good answers.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, and thank you to the listeners and the audience for your contribution tonight, and obviously always thank you to Barrett for doing a great job, the unsung hero of the 2 hours, slaving away in the background on the audio. This is The Grind. This is Thursday night. If you follow The Grind, we now have a website, thegrind.asia. That's where we are. If you want to catch up on the audio, on the podcast, if you like what we do on YouTube, then hit the like button in the face, subscribe to us. And all the comments for tonight are not anything to do with my company whatsoever or Age Tech Podcast, but all the responsibility of the authors of those comments. So you have an issue, take it up with them. Nothing to do with me. With that, thank you very much, everybody. Signing off.
See you guys.
Yeah.